Welcome in a Tuesday, nice little Tuesday edition, lighter slate of locks before lock. Let's see, we've got locks before lock, then the deeper dive, then live before lock. So 2.5 hours of programming, and 1.5 hours of that features Eric Lindquist. He just gets going right now with the 30-minute teaser, the eye opener, as they call it in the Lindquist household. So what's happening there? Jordan is producing, and we appreciate your love of one of those, right? You know, it's either hit the gym at 6:30 in the morning or a shot of gin, right? Either way, it's going to do the same thing for you. It's going to
let's go
going.
Yeah, I was going to say I did the gym one because I'm a professional.
Gym or gin? N or M?
The YM version.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes. No, I'm back in the routine of that. Drinking juice, being so LA, it's ridiculous. You go through waves. Now we're back. We're back in the gym in the mornings, getting to it. But also, it's been nice. I've had a lot of morning shows that have gotten me up and keeping me accountable to keep it in the routine. And things our dog's been sleeping in. It's been really, really nice to kind of have him acclimated to the routine as well. So a lot more time to be able to get things done. Like, I don't know, smashing the prop game yesterday. That was a lot of fun. I see Dave DeRemer here as well. He was stopping in at the golf show. The guy won like $5,000 in props. Hopefully that can carry over to all of us here again today.
What golf props was he winning $5,000?
Oh, no, not golf. NBA from yesterday. Locks before lock. But he stopped in the golf show this morning.
Oh, okay.
I had the PGA strategy show with Ben. And By the way, too, Putting for Dough. Really cool show you guys are doing on Mondays as well. So
thank you, man.
Check that out.
Yeah, look, we knocked down 2 of the 4 Final Four contestants in the Deltec. So we're looking to continue that this week. Nice little roll into the Masters there. And look, nobody is on the heater that News God is on. I don't know. Are you even in this Discord here? Because I try and tag you on that and I can't find you. But News God is posting parlay after parlay. He destroyed like a 10-leg shots on goal parlay last night and is just posting the winnings, the pillaging after every win on this Discord.
Discord's hiding my comments. That's what's happening right now.
That's like Twitter to me. Okay, I see what you're
That's
saying.
what I was getting at. That was the joke.
Yeah,
I was saying.
I got it.
It was a funny one in my opinion. Jordan Klein's laughing. We're
Well,
having
of
fun.
course, you guys are like telling all these stories. Like the two of you hang out more often than you do content on this channel.
I'm upset at Jordan Klein. Okay, so Jordan Klein needs our help. Hit the like button for Jordan Klein. I'm upset with him. I'm going to be for days. It's just the way that it is when you have a friend that you care about.
Well, yeah, you're upset at him, but I guarantee you've made that mistake in why you're upset. So don't be a hypocrite.
I have never made that mistake before. I am not speaking from experience.
Yeah, right.
That was me actually speaking from experience.
Exactly. So, in your hostage video voice. Right. All right.
Still in bondage. Yes.
Bulls right now. Let's open this thing up. We've got 5 games to look at here tonight. Yeah. The Bulls in Washington, first and foremost. And look, you should always be going to Odd Shopper, especially if you don't have any lean, especially if you don't have any gut play on a game. You just want to see what we have, what Alex has projection-wise, and what's correlated over to Odd Shopper. So it's a short line here. Bulls just not inspiring by any means. I don't really have a lean on either the side or the total here. Do you, before we look at some player props?
Lean on the decided total. Not really. There's really only one spot that I think I might actually have a game play for you. If you're looking to find some play that you're really digging for. For me, most of the lines are pretty efficient. It's a 5-gamer. That's generally what's going to happen. You might find one extreme piece of value where the public's really over analyzing a spot. I think the ROI, the expected ROI money line on the Awesemo NBA betting model has Washington as like a 7% expected ROI. That's fine, but I can find that a lot in the prop market, specifically with one Corey Kispert today.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the guy that will pop up. I'll let you get into there right away. Let me just take an easy one off the board, and that's Daniel Gafford's rebounds here, especially when you look at the difference between what you're getting at the books, 4.5 at even money. Alex has this guy slamming it at 5.6, so a full board north. It's a pretty strong ROI compared to what else you can find across in this game as well. So that would be the one that I would start with, but I know you want to smash a bunch of Kispert.
Yeah, I mean, this is just what you do late in the season with some of these rookies. We're seeing it with Jalen Green yesterday. We're seeing it with a number of rookies. You just get better as you go along. It's not like you just stay the same. And now the opportunity has presented itself for him to play some big minutes. He played 41 in that 8-point win against Golden State last time out, put up 25 points, 6 for 9 from 3. He's getting more and more comfortable. I've watched an abnormal amount of Washington basketball of late. That Lakers game, something flipped. I don't know. We had seen it a little bit in March, but that Lakers game, he was assertive. He knows his role. He's in the corners. He's getting created for. Him and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, I think they're a pretty good shooting perimeter surrounding Porzingis. They really have a point guard that isn't a great facilitator, whoever they end up starting. Satoransky's been the guy here lately, but I think Corey Kispert is one of the best prop plays. He's also one of the best DFS plays, especially on DraftKings. One of my favorite pieces of value to kind of tie it all together. But looking at OddsShopper, his rebounds prop over 2.5, I like that for expected win percentage. 75% we're looking at. One of my favorite plays, if it's still available, over on Prize Picks today, where I play most of my prop volume.
Yeah, you mentioned Satoransky. He might be a sneaky play there from a couple of different angles. Even if you were looking at assists tonight, you can probably get some pretty good returns there on the market itself. But from Kispert to Gafford, that's pretty much going to be it, really, for me. Again, if you wanted to sprinkle on there, I'm not hating it by any means, but I don't really know what.
All I know is that I didn't hear a 3-point prop right off the bat. I'm so proud of you.
This game is garbage.
And now you list off 8 of them.
I have them. But look, this game is dog shit for 3-point props. Let's be honest.
It's here's the thing. Corey Kispert would be like legitimately one of my favorites. 1.5. I would smash the over on that if it were available on Prize Picks. 70% expected win percentage. I think that actually is a play I can back. 12% expected ROI. If you want to put that in a single game parlay at a number of different spots, looks like you're going to get a little bit worse or a little bit more juice on the over 1.5 at a number of books that aren't the one listed on OddsShopper there. I think some of the single game parlays might not give you the payout you necessarily want on that, but we project him for a full 3-point or more. This is a minutes plus volume kind of play for me. I mean, he is on the floor to make threes. He's on the floor as a rookie out of Gonzaga who's just getting more assertive as his rookie season has gone along. Really a guy that I feel pretty confident is filling in nicely in the absence of Kyle Kuzma and is just seeing more usage as a result.
Yeah, I mean, we've spent way too much time on this game.
Not really. We have four more games to go.
And one of them is the Sixers, where we should be spending a ton of
time.
Oh,
my God, the Sixers.
I mean, nobody gives a rat's ass about Corey Kispert.
How many cares about Corey Kispert?
All right. Jesus. You're pushing Corey Kispert here tonight.
I'm saying.
Are you that desperate?
Philadelphia 76ers.
You know, part of the impression or most of the impression works when you can sound like the individual. When you do an impression of somebody, but it's your voice, it doesn't really work.
I'll shave my head and you couldn't tell the difference. No, I love you. Don't hurt me.
You need a little more bass in your voice. You've been hanging out with Jordan too much.
I need a little more bass in my voice.
Now you sound like Barkley. All right, try again. Jesus. I thought you're a comedian. Don't you do impressions?
No, I'm not. No, I've never been a comedian. That is Greg Ehrenberg. Ehrenberg DFS on the Twitters.
Well, Ehrenberg does impressions. I trust him. You, I don't. Okay. All right, so we'll breeze through this Sixers-Bucks game. We won't spend much time on this thing at all. No plays for me at all. Do you have anything on this?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, so our third game of the night is a juicy, gigantic monster affair here. By the way, I will say Tyrese Maxey. 14 of 16 games, this man has gone over 1.5 threes. 8 of 16 games, he's gone 3+ threes. The books have caught up now to where they're asking you to go over 2.5 or plus money. If you look at the break-even point, it's still under 50% if you were just using that metric of when James Harden got here. So I don't hate you, Lindquist, if you wanted to attack that. I know that we have him projected for only 1.9, but once again, it's so hard to ignore that he's hit that 2 at least in 14 of 16.
Find somebody that loves you the way that Eytan loves Tyrese Maxey alongside
14
James Harden.
of 16 straight games. It's hit.
I get it. I know. Over 2. So yeah, play the 2. Go ahead. Pay the juice on that as well. For me, it's pretty much taking the under on 2.5 or pass on everything else there. I mean, 2. I mean, it's the base projection. Milwaukee defense. I think you're probably going to have James Harden and Drew Holiday. There aren't many individual defenders in the NBA that I kind of give a bump down to certain players, but Drew Holiday on James Harden is definitely going to be one of them here. Tyrese Maxey could see some time there going up against Drew Holiday. Not ideal, but I see what you're saying. I mean, you're the Philadelphia guy. I don't want to completely besmirch this idea, but we're projecting him out at 1.9. The under looks pretty enticing. 72% expected win percentage going that direction on it. If you want to play the 2, you're basically just flipping a coin and you can accept that. But I think you're willing to accept that because there's still, no doubt about it. Tyrese Maxey has outperformed expectations that I've had for him alongside Harden.
Look, I go with your analogy of the coin flip if I were going over the 2.5. But if I were to play 2+ in either a same game parlay or take the Minnesota Wild, let's say, to smash my Flyers tonight alongside Maxey's 2+, right? There, I think I'm still gaining an edge because of how often he's gone over that 1.5. Now, 2.5 is completely different, but that would be, look, I like the Sixers to win this basketball game. I think if there was one here, I don't mind that. I know it's dipped now down to a pick'em, but you mentioned that the lines and totals here are pretty sharp and efficient, which I agree with across the board. If there was one thing in this game that I would make a play for, it would go over the total, because I do think both teams here have enough scoring power that we can see over 232. But again, man, you mentioned the defensive matchups here. I don't really want to tempt fate with the Sixers outside of Maxey.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to want to. I mean, I'm just excited to watch this game.
Are you really?
I think there's a ton of star power, and it's going to just be entertaining, no doubt about it. You get Harden, Holiday on one side, you get Giannis and Embiid going at each other, you get Brook Lopez defense in there. I mean, this is 2 of the more healthy teams in the East that are going to be matching up almost at full strength here, unless you want to call Bembry out full strength. I'm not going to even remotely acknowledge that comment by myself, but looking at Milwaukee and Philadelphia, very excited for it. Would not bet in a million years the spread or money line or -1 here. There's just no way that I would touch that. For me, I'm looking at taking the shorting number on Tyrese Maxey. I think that's actually a decent thing on the under of 2.5. I totally get your logic as far as playing 2 or more there. Mm-hmm. I'm just fine with that. Looks like there's a lot of block props, but with only 5 games on the board, you want to be a little bit more selective. I don't see a heck of a lot from this game that I'm excited for in terms of props. Much more enticing for DFS purposes.
Was that just because of the Kispert comment that you had to slide in the under Maxey 3s?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Kispert's going to go over 2.5 threes. How you like them apples? Well, even on 1.5. I mean, 1.5 is the number.
Yeah, I know, but are you going to go full throttle here?
I will give you. Hang on, Eytan, you ready for this? Kispert 5+. What is Kispert 5+ in a single game parlay?
I'm afraid to tell you just because I know you'll bet it, but you just want the straight play of Corey Kispert 5+ threes, right?
Yeah. What is the straight up play? And then we can tag it with
I could only get him 4+ right now at plus.
Okay, so give me the 4+.
6 plus 640.
Oh my God. Let's go, Eytan. This is my DGen one. You know what? Because Corey Kispert, he needs to hit this number in this situation 1 out of every 6 times to return value. Are we serious about this? This is beautiful.
Let's do this. I'll make a deal with you, okay? I have a free bet on a certain book here, right? Are we not allowed to say books on this show? I thought we are.
We can.
Okay, no. Jordan's saying no. No, don't say we can, but we're not supposed to when our producer's doing this.
All right. He was just possessed by the devil, which is ironic.
Is that what that was?
Because the devil.
I'll make a deal with you. I have a free bet. All right. It's worth $100. I don't even know how I got this thing. It must be something was voided, right? Or my casino just losses have totaled up here. But I have a free bet for $100. I'll place it on Kispert plus 640 and split the winnings with you.
Deal.
All right.
Congratulations on your win.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You owe me one of these on Prize Picks if this doesn't hit moving forward. Okay.
I'll send you a ticket here for today. I think I've got a decent enough ticket.
No. Let's do 1 ticket a day here and we'll keep this thing moving and we'll do it like once a week. We'll build something like this. All right.
I like this for us. All I know is Luka Doncic is my favorite play on the entire board today. So
by the way, he's definitely going over 3.5 threes.
Yes, he is. His line is 3 on Prize Picks.
Oh my goodness, take that and run. By the way, if you did like one more in this game, I am already locked in on this one. I went over 2.5 threes at plus 102 for Chris Middleton. Here's the logic behind it, okay? I'm getting the average there, clearly. I know he had a rough one last time out against Memphis, but my logic in this, Eric, is that with Brook Lopez back, guys like Bobby Portis, Grayson Allen, they're seeing a little bit of a hit in their shot volume. The one guy who's greedy enough to just say, no, I'm still shooting is Chris Middleton, which I love on a prop like this. So I'm targeting him against the Sixers tonight. That's the last one in this game.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's in a interesting spot. I mean, he's sub 8K on DK. FanDuel purposes, he's been in play constantly there, 7,500. But looking at him in terms of props here as well, I mean, this is a guy that is just good at basketball. 37.9% from three, 44.5% field goal percentage. He's been a volume guy. I know he's been more disappointing than not in the absence of Giannis for some of these, but alongside Giannis as well. I mean, this is just a team. They're still the team to beat in the East. As much as Philadelphia is exciting, as much as Brooklyn could be up to full capacity here. I picked Milwaukee to win last year. I picked them again this year. I just like all the pieces. Him, Giannis, Middleton, and Drew are just such a great trio. They play both sides of the ball so well. It's going to be, I mean, 230 and 231.5 is about appropriate because there is so much offensive firepower in this game, but Milwaukee can really make it a grinded out game if they want to, especially with Brook Lopez back. As you said, I think Middleton's a fine play. I just don't think there's a ton that I want to go crazy with in this game in terms of props.
No, and I totally agree on that. And let's keep it moving because there really are some other opportunities here by all means. So next game, let's start again, side total here as far as anything that you may have a lean.
So for the next one as in the Dallas and the LA game?
Brooklyn, Detroit. Right. I was
Brooklyn, Detroit. Yeah. Cause I mean, Dallas,
no,
LA.
Dallas Lakers. It is Dallas. I'm sorry. Because I was looking here for all full disclosure, I didn't have the sheet up in front of me and I was waiting for Jordan to go back to the screen that had the rundown on there. And then I thought, you know what? Let me just throw it to you because you'll probably have the sheet up, but you didn't have it either. So
Holy sheet, Eytan.
Yes. It's the Lakers Mavericks. I do like the under here, by the way. I'm going to take the under. No LeBron James because of that ankle injury. Dallas is the second best team in the NBA in defensive scoring per game. So this is not about showcasing anything, right? Like there's no style points out here. Nobody's going to put a $130 on the Lakers just to send a message. The sooner, the faster you can get up and suffocate the Lakers, the sooner you can sit starters. So I like going under this total, Eric Lindquist.
I don't mind it. Dallas plays at the slowest pace in the NBA. Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie, who's been really good both sides of the basketball since getting to Dallas. What a flip for them. I mean, this is going to work out well, I think, for Washington and for Dallas. With the Dinwiddie situation, I mean, it's basically whatever for Davis Bertans. He's still Davis Bertans, but Dinwiddie showed out, still playing slow and pace. I don't mind that. I probably won't be taking it. I can see what you're seeing in terms of taking the under there. Looks like a close to a 50-50 proposition in our Awesemo NBA betting model, but I think you've made a good enough case. I totally can see where you're getting at. For me, this is just prop haven. I'm looking at Luka Doncic across the board in just about everything. And this Lakers team, let me count the ways that they are bad. They are absolutely atrocious. I think that it makes a lot of sense to just be smashing, and I mean smashing the over on 3.5 3-pointers for Luka Doncic in this spot. 26%. Oh man, plus 120 you're getting at some spots, and it just makes way too much sense. I get 3. It's 3 on Prize Picks. It is one of the best Prize Picks players you're going to see all day. 77 expected win percentage at the 3 number, according to the Awesemo Prize Picks NBA tool, which is still free on Awesemo as well. You want to check that out in conjunction with Odd Shopper. They both work in tandem a little bit. They just calculate it slightly differently in terms of the expected win percentage that you get, which is what I'm concerned about. One of my favorite props I've seen in a long time from a game that otherwise is just basically Luka, Russell, moving on with my day.
All right. Love it. And I'm in there as well, by the way. Over 3.5. I do think, and I have to give a shout out to my buddy Kenny here in Philly on this one. but I do think it's worth a sprinkle on the other side. This has dipped a little bit now, but if you were targeting anything on the Lakers, I think you go big. I think you look at the volume that we should expect a guy like Russell Westbrook to have there on the floor, and you play him at a triple-double at plus 700.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, they're 11-point favorites.
Go big, right?
Yeah, why not? Go big or go home. Do the thing.
Well, that's you.
Get down with your bad self, Luka Doncic. No. How about that?
I'm not talking about Doncic. I'm talking about Westbrook triple-double.
I was just kidding. But anyway, Luka Doncic, I'm looking at this 3-point prop constantly, and I'm just adding it to picks. I keep clicking on other props as we're talking through, adding them to my card, making sure that I don't miss this opportunity to get in on some of these numbers. You want to be attacking when something really makes sense. And again, triple-double for Russell Westbrook. I mean, he's going to have free reign to just go out there and try to win a game.
Yeah.
Whether or not he can do it is up to it. But I will say the one thing I'm more confident about for Russell Westbrook than anything else, and I have been on this streak, is his ability to get the ancillary stats. The rebounds and assists are still going to show up. He's going to get enough volume just in terms of field goal attempts that he's going to probably get to at least 10 points. So the triple double, I don't mind getting to that kind of a number. I would be shocked if he didn't have over 10 points in this game. So I think the assists and rebounds, obviously those are the stretches, but he definitely sees a nice sizable bump. Absent LeBron James, he's going to have to do everything for this team. I don't think he can, but I think for DFS purposes, for your betting purposes, makes a lot of sense.
2 straight games, this young man has absolutely destroyed my ticket, including ending a 5-leg parlay in his home debut after the vax mandate was lifted, and Ben Simmons could have put up a better stat line than what you got from Kyrie Irving. With that said, Eric Lindquist, it is the only play I have in this Pistons-Nets game across the board. I'm going a unit on Kyrie over 2.5 because it's dipped a little bit now. 2.5 at minus 130. I'm okay with that. And I'm also going to push it to 4+ at plus 205. Yes, it's the Pistons. Yes, it's a gigantic number. I found the sheet, by the way. It's also a ridiculous total at 233.5. So I have to target somebody on the Nets to put up a huge game or at least get there. And that's going to be Kyrie. No way he's going to burn me 3 straight games. So I'm going Irving over 3s, 2 times over.
All right. I don't mind that. There's a number of steals and blocks combination props. You can get 1.5 for Andre Drummond. We have him projected for 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks. So you use those two together in Odd Chopper. Use that to inform some of these bets that have blocks plus steals at a number of places. It's available on PrizePicks. It's available on some other prop sites. So take advantage of that. I'm looking at 1.5 for that number. We have him projected for 2.4. The guy is just seeing a lot more minutes. He's playing pretty well, I would say, with the Brooklyn team. It shouldn't surprise anybody. He's now getting extended run. He has the opportunity to basically just stat hog in terms of rebounds and doing some of the other things. But defensively, I've been very impressed with his ability to just spike defensive games. We saw 6 stocks against Charlotte. This is a Detroit front court that has major problems. Marvin Bagley is going to be played through a little bit more in the absence of Jeremy Grant. You still have Isaiah Stewart there. This is just not a very formidable front court. I think Andre Drummond, plenty of opportunities to accumulate stocks in this one. So 1.5, if you can find that number for steals and blocks together, smash it.
Corey Joseph was the last one that I wanted to throw out in this game. And again, when I look at it across my board, what I'm doing, the only thing that pops up is Kyrie Irving over 3s. All right, there's got to be other value. I don't always have the luxury of doing a show with Eric Lindquist. Here's Odd Shopper just smacking me in the face, pardon me, with Corey Joseph over 2.5 assists. I mean, look, from the X-Win to ROI, which is going to be really good compared to the other ones that you'll really see across the board in this game. There's also that full assist that you have pretty much higher from Alex's projection. So it's also workable. A lot of these, you mentioned Drummond, where you have to use it's the same game or a parlay in an anchor piece elsewhere. This is one that at minus 120 on a book is very doable as an individual play. So I wanted to bring up Joseph here real quick before we move to our final game.
Like that call. Like it a lot.
All right. So let's hit it, my friend. Last couple of games or last couple of opportunities for value in this final game. Clippers, Jazz, Paul George or not. I mean, come on. Is Paul George and any minutes restriction really going to change your opinion of the Clippers are in a total free fall. The Jazz just happened to lose 4 straight games on the road to 4 good teams. I like Utah in this game to win on a short line. Trap or not, I'll take the Jazz. I'm locked in -1 that I got in earlier in the day thanks to Odd Shopper.
Absolutely no respect for Paul George.
Zero.
None.
Zero. Tonight,
Why?
after he hasn't played since December 22nd?
Don't give a shit. He's been sitting forever. Paul George is on track to play. He's going to play also. They took all at the places that I go to play my props. They took all of the Clippers off the board with news that he is on track to play. So I can't really take any advantage to it there. I'll go on the other side of you on this one. If you're going to take Utah, I mean, Paul George gets no respect for the two-way player that he is because there's this perception of him where it was the bubble where he fell apart and they had the big collapse where Kawhi and Paul George just couldn't make it work there to finish it out. Then you see them both kind of alternate getting hurt. Paul George can't close out, they close out Utah, and then all of a sudden he can't play in the next series in the conference finals because he's dinged up there too. I mean, it's kind of been unlucky in a lot of ways for him. I don't think he's like an Anthony Davis made of glass kind of guy. I mean, this elbow deal was pretty fluky. It seems like he's had just a lot of these fluke type injuries that have shown up for him. And I feel pretty confident saying he's a top 25 player, top 20 player when healthy in the NBA. You combine him with maybe Kawhi coming a little bit later here. Maybe they get through the play-in game and have the opportunity to get him there. I think this Clippers team is a lot better than what you think. And Paul George, I don't know if he's really playable. They did a very poor job in terms of pricing him, but I for sure have interest in trying to be early and say, you know what, this Clippers team, very different if you're going to be getting 28, 30 minutes from Paul George a night.
This Clippers team has lost 5 straight, 8 of 10, and you're telling me that I'm disrespecting them? And
you're
look,
disrespecting Paul George.
I'm not disrespecting his legacy. I'm not calling him layoff P, right, to make fun of the whole playoff P thing. Like, I'm not even altering his name like a Westbrook thing. I'm just saying tonight, no, I'm sorry. I'm taking the Jazz on this one. I love the fact that we're on opposite ends, so we can come back to this the next time you and I are doing something, I think on Sunday, which is too long. But
sounds great. Go Clippers.
I'll just add Donovan Mitchell. Have no problem here going over his 3-point prop. But Royce O'Neal is a sneaky one. It doesn't make sense that he's over only 105 or 1.5, pardon me, at -104. So I targeted him. I played that Royce O'Neal over 1.5 makes at -104. It's off because he's been a little inconsistent. So I'm taking advantage of that downswing.
Yeah, how about the steals prop for him too? 69% expected win percentage. If you can find a 0.5 out there, makes a nice addition to any kind of a single game parlay or prize picks or something of that nature. For the most part, otherwise, Clippers are kind of a stay away now because, well, they're going to come back with adjusted lines for whatever this minutes limit we might hear about for Paul George is going to be. Donovan Mitchell, the under on 0.5, if you want to lay the 450 of juice. I know that's something boss man Alex Baker's been doing a lot and been pretty profitable doing. I don't have access to sports books, but if I did, I think 45 to win $10 doesn't sound fun for some people, but winning sounds fun to me. And that has a 90% expected win percentage, probably a decent enough spot to put that in a single game parlays as well. You
have access to a sports book tonight. Remember, Corey Kispert, 4+.
He's doing it for us.
Hit the thumbs up button on your way out, but don't go anywhere on our way out as the deeper dive coming your way right now. Cheyenne on the super chat. Appreciate that. The fella's going to answer that question coming up from a DFS standpoint. I wouldn't bet anybody on a prop level right now with Paul George back in the Clippers just because we don't know. So from a betting standpoint, you probably want to stay away. At Eric Lindquist on Twitter, at Shander Show for me. Thanks, Jordan. Hit that thumbs up button, please. And look, make sure you're part of everything going on here at Awesemo as well. Deeper dive right now.
Don't think I'm dying.
Oh, that's good. I meant to ask you.
Yeah.
I was too drunk.
Nervous though, man.
What?
Said I was nervous.
Oh, yeah. So did you figure out what was wrong?
Yeah, I'll tell you later. Yo, Jordan, play me into some like odd porn music here. Glad to have you with us. It is the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Jock Market. What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday night. We got a 5-game slate to break down. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the Twitters, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. What's going on, bro?
Not much, but I was reading chat to try and guess at what point our sound kicked in, and I'm guessing somewhere around "Don't think I'm dying."
Yeah. No, I knew we were hot then. It's fine.
I knew we were going to be hot at some point over that stretch. I just didn't know exactly where it would come in.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I'm not here tomorrow, the doctor was wrong.
Or he was right and you got hit by a bus.
That's a very good point. Not a ton of, it would have to be a school bus around my way.
Yeah. And
wouldn't be like a
probably
SEPTA.
deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, it deserved a lot of things.
I feel like it's just hard to get hit by a school bus.
If I do, I would want it to be like From How High, where he lights his hair on fire and then falls out of the window and then gets hit by a bus.
You know, I haven't seen it, but
You've never seen How High?
I mean, if I have, I was probably I probably have, but it was like after a night at the bar and I just started watching it on Netflix.
Oh man. Just watch it. Watch it. I mean, those are back in like the heavy weed smoking days where we would watch it like all the time. But Method Man and Red Man, no, I mean, it's just spectacular flick. You have to.
Doesn't it? It has somebody else in it too, right?
Well, it has a lot of no. Those are the two main characters.
Yeah, I thought there was somebody else that like.
Not Half Baked. How High?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've
Half Baked had Dave Chappelle.
Right. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and what's the other guy's name from SNL? I can't remember his name, but anyway, Alan Burns. Yeah, I Need Money. It's good though. Check it out. It's great. Watch it. Maybe a little tipsy or something like that. You gotta be getting there. But it's like one of the most quotable movies ever. So good. Well, anyway, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so.
No, Adam's movie game does not exist.
Oh yeah, Mike Epps is in that too. But Adam was thinking of Half Baked for sure. Jim Brewer, thank you, Adam. It's spelled Brewer wrong, but I know where you're going with that. All right, so we had like 140 likes when we got in here. We got to pop that up to like 250 out of the gate. Like that would give us 100. It takes literally 1 second to hover over, click that, or if you're on an iPhone, take that finger, that fat finger, and click that thumbs up. I'm just kidding, but really do so. Helps us greatly. And subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 75,000 subscribers. Appreciate all of you for getting us there. Without you, we are nothing. And if you want to join, hit that join down below. Get the free super chats each month, the custom emojis, those sweet badges. Hugo iced out with the 12-month. Love it. My man. All right. Same with Carlos now. Everyone's coming around. It's like a wave right now. I wonder why. Are you there yet? You're still not. How are you not there? I don't get it. Couple days, maybe? Yeah, a couple days. And we'll always prioritize your questions, comments, along with our Discord members. And we'll be doing a lot of cool stuff, some cool exclusive stuff as well. And thank you, by the way, 245 likes. We are there. Fantasy Basement. That shit on your lips got some shit on it, sir. I wish you knew this movie so you could quote it.
I know that quote. I didn't know what it was from.
Pass the Dutchie, my friend. Is that why no Puff Puff? Just watch it. Jordan, have you seen How High? What? Coming from you,
he was probably not born when it came out.
It doesn't matter. I mean, given his lifestyle, you would think this is a staple of. No? Okay. Whatever. We got 5 games to talk about. You and I did the strategy show this morning. There still really hasn't been much news to break whatsoever. We're going to get some for sure. But as of now, and you'll have Live Before Lock with Eric and Greg after this, we haven't gotten that much at all.
No, today's been like the exact opposite of yesterday. All that we've really gotten that I can think of is that Paul George is likely to play, which doesn't really matter.
It means nothing.
I mean, it means something, but it doesn't mean much.
But we're waiting on. Let's at least talk about what we are waiting on. You got Chicago on the second of a back-to-back. So you got Levine, maybe Caruso. You have LeBron and Davis, but we're just considering them out right now. Anyway, the Rudy Gobert news is big, and that's an island game, the only game after 7:30. So that's pretty significant. I think that's all we're waiting on right now, right?
I think so, yeah. And the Utah game is huge, and I don't even have a good way to approach it or talk about it because I don't know what to do with it. Ringing endorsement of this show.
Well, we'll get there. I mean, at the same time, though, what are we supposed to do?
Right.
Like there's no recourse there. We'll obviously talk about what happens if Rudy Gobert's in or out, right? And Bogdanovich, but like
right. But I meant from like a building lineup. If we don't have news from like a building lineup standpoint, I have no idea what to do with that. And
the other thing too is, being that it is an island game, your swap options from like Rudy Gobert, if he's out, are even tougher, because then you're looking over at the other side of this one, and Tyronn Lue is already said that he's limiting his starters' minutes. So it's not even like those guys are good options.
Right, exactly. It's not like it's one of those games. Like a lot of times when I do the show with Alex, he'll kind of like probe me for my late swap strategies. And normally I'm like, I don't really care that much because there's like 6 guys from these last games that I'm fine playing. But tonight it's just like, oh, well, I really like Rudy Gobert. And if not Rudy Gobert, I really like nobody.
Yep. I know. It's tough. Let's dive into it. We'll break it all down. And then maybe we will get news. Maybe we'll get lucky here and we'll get some players in or out, and we can talk about some options, how we want to approach this. But let's get into it. Before we do, just real quick, I mentioned it on the strategy show, and I've always told you guys, like, if there's some type of marketing or read or whatever, and I think it's just nonsense, I will fight to the death to not do it. And we really don't do that stuff around here. But we have is that on it? It's not even on my show. It's not even on I'm going to do it anyway. Jordan, can you just throw it up? We have a number that if you text MVP to, we're doing some cool stuff where you'll get like exclusive discounts to some certain offers. And the cool thing is exclusive, like early access to beta testing some of our new tools. And we have some really cool new tools on the horizon that I think you guys are going to love. So if you want in on that, text MVP to the number on the screen. Jordan, you can throw the link in there as well. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, the beta testing stuff, I figured some of you guys would appreciate. And then just exclusive discount opportunities as well. All right. So let's talk about Chicago and Washington. We'll kick it off with Chicago. Do you think Levine plays today?
Feels 50-50 to me. The last time that he was questionable, I didn't think he was going to play, and he did. So for now, I'm assuming that he does, but it feels like a true Q-tag.
All right. Well, even with him projected in our ownership, we had an update about an hour ago. We should have one real soon. You're still getting DeMar DeRozan as the second highest owned player on the slate. His salary has come down a ton since Levine came back. Took a while. It was kind of stagnant for a second. But going up against Washington, 3.5-point favorites, this should be a competitive game. And to be fair, there are 2 games on this slate that could be absolute just annihilation, huge blowouts. So really 40% of the games are projected to be close right now. Or 40% of the games are expected to be blowouts. That does make Chicago a little bit more interesting in a game that should at least stay competitive, or at least we have it projected to. Vegas does.
Yeah, this seems like it should be a very appealing game from a fantasy standpoint. Obviously, which players are appealing matters somewhat on the Zach LaVine news, but one way or the other, I think DeRozan and Vooch both look very, very good at their respective price tags. If LaVine is out, obviously those guys both look better, but if LaVine is in, they still look good, and LaVine himself at 8,200 looks pretty good. So I think they are, the top tier guys from Chicago, the priorities there. And then you take a step back to guys like Caruso at 5,300, still playable, still a decent option, but looks a little bit better if Levine is out, but not going to be a priority one way or the other. Same goes for $4,400 Dosunmu. If Levine is out, you're probably getting more run for Kobe White at 4,900, so he would look better as well. I don't think he's really playable if Levine is in, though.
Okay. And with Caruso, I know he was out for an extended period of time, but he's already played 30 plus minutes on a back-to-back since he returned. He's probable. So that doesn't seem like a situation we really need to monitor unless something changes. But if Levine sits, what do we do with like a Dosunmu on a night where we already don't have a lot of good value?
He's better. Like the issue is, he's still playing with DeRozan. He's still playing with Vooch. He's still playing with Caruso. Right. You maybe get a bump in assists, but it's not like he's ever a high usage guy. And I think Kobe White picks up more minutes too, and he's a higher usage guy than Dosunmu. So one way or the other, I think it's kind of just like a $4,400 dice roll where you're not going to feel great about it, but you can feel a little bit less bad about it if Levine is out, I guess.
I guess let me spin this for a second so we can hit it from all angles, given that this Levine news is like really the biggest pending questionable along with Gobert on the slate. If Levine is in, how would you rank DeRozan, Vooch, and Levine?
Vooch 1, DeRozan 2, Levine 3.
Okay.
Very close between Vooch and DeRozan. I think a step back for Levine. The one thing Levine does have working, because he's not as good a fantasy point per minute guy as DeRozan or Vooch. The one thing he does have working for him is that he's shooting guard small forward, whereas on DraftKings, at least, you can only roster DeRozan at one spot. You can only roster Vooch at one spot.
You want to hit on anything else for Chicago?
Not really. All
right. Let's talk about Washington then. Actually, a really interesting team today. And Porzingis in the 5 games that Kyle Kuzma's been out, 33% usage rate, 16% rebound rate, and get ready for this, 23% assist rate as well. Played 32 plus minutes, or he's averaging 32 minutes over his last 4. You're just getting really good games from him recently. And the absence of Kyle Kuzma has been pretty significant, especially since you've seen his minutes come back up. He's getting around 22%. I think it makes sense, even at that price point. Chicago's front court defense is really not all that imposing. And if Porzingis is playing those minutes in close games each night, I don't see how he doesn't have a really nice ceiling in these spots.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you're likely looking at least 30 to 32 minutes if this game's competitive. Since he joined Washington, he's averaged about 1.44 DraftKings points per minute. Without Kuzma, he's at 1.49, 31.7% usage rate, 20.2% assist percentage, 14.5% rebounding percentage, just doing everything while he's out there, and still a pretty reasonable price tag. So I think he pretty clearly looks like the top guy from Washington.
All right, now it's time to break down just the mess that is everybody else for Washington. This is amazing. And we'll see what happens if injury news breaks. Once we get an ownership update, you have 8, including Porzingis, 8 Wizards today getting double-digit ownership. Granted, a handful of them are low double digits, right? 10, 11, 12, 14%. But from Denny Abdi to Corey Kispert to Satoransky, Gafford, KCP, Rui Hachimura, even Ish Smith, who's only getting backup minutes behind Thomas Satoransky right now, all of them getting 10+%. Our ownership projections too. What's that?
Anthony Gill is even at 9.5.
Oh, I didn't even see that. So basically everyone expected in the rotation is getting like 10%. Our ownership projections for the main slate are free today. If you want to follow along, you don't need a subscription or anything for that. So are PGA rankings and NHL top stacks. But really, do you just kind of spray when it comes to Washington today?
I think so. It's kind of been this way with Washington for a while, but today you don't even get like big ownership gaps. I mean, outside of Porzingis, even including Porzingis, the highest owned guy is like 20%, and then the lowest owned guy is like 10%. We've seen some slates recently where, like back when Neto was starting, where maybe Ish Smith was getting like 3% ownership and Neto was getting more, and you could pivot to Ish, but it kind of, at least for right now, we're projecting Washington's ownership to, I think, pretty much come in the way that it should. Denny Abdi has been playing really well. He's playing, 28 minutes, give or take, a night. 5,100 looks pretty good for him, especially with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Same can be said for $3,900 Kispert. Not a great point per minute guy, but without Kuzma, Beal, or Dinwiddie on the floor this year, Kispert's averaged 0.72 DraftKings points per minute. He's probably going to play 32 minutes, give or take, just a solid point per dollar option. Same can be said for Satoransky, who's starting point guard, small forward, $4,100. Decent fantasy producer. 0.87 DraftKings points per minute in 205 minutes without Kuzma, Beal, or Dinwiddie. So if he does play 30 minutes again, he's going to look pretty good. Smith backing him up. So I wouldn't play. I think the big thing with Washington is that, and this is the case like all the time, you do want groups here. I don't think you should be playing Satoransky and Smith together.
No,
I don't think you should
especially,
be
playing especially given that Unseld is very much willing to run a hot hand at point guard. Like we've seen it even when Howell Neto was starting.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you should be like separating them. I don't think you want Porzingis with Gafford. They're playing both of them exclusively at the 5. And then I would just say doing something like max 2 of Avdia, KCP, Kispert. I think that can work. I could also see just saying like max 1 of Rui and Gill, because I haven't actually looked, but I don't think they're playing Gill and Rui together. Yeah, they're not. So yeah, I would say like max 1 of Rui Gill, max 1 of Satoransky and Smith, max 1 of Porzingis, Gafford, and then you probably don't want more than 2 of like Avdia, KCP, Kispert.
Yeah, and I really don't want to go overboard with how many Washington Wizards are in my lineup tonight, and I agree with all of those groups, especially given that a lot of these guys really are just like mutually exclusive in terms of where their minutes are coming from. But are you comfortable with 3 Wizards in the same lineup just because of the lack of value on the slate?
Not particularly. I mean, I probably, with it only being a 5-game slate, I can live with it, I guess. But, and also with the groups that I was just kind of laying out, I think if you get to 3 Washington using those groups, you're probably, like Porzingis is probably one of them, which is fine. Because, I mean, I guess you could just get like Rui, Satoransky, Avdia or something like that too, which would be okay. So I don't love it, but given the lack of value right now, I guess it's okay.
Okay. Someone asked, can you rank them? It's so hard to rank them. I think
Kristaps Porzingis number 1.
Well, yeah, that's
else
an
on the
obvious
team,
one,
numbers 2
So,
through 8.
Who would you say?
Everyone else on the team tied for 2 through 8.
It's really just the groups that matter, and that's why you just took the time to do that. It's not about ranking them individually.
Yeah, it's basically somebody other than Porzingis. Like Porzingis, I think is the best play from Washington. Somebody from the rest of the guys, at least one person, is going to have a good game. You kind of would have to be psychic to actually pretend that you know who it's going to be. So it's more so just mixing and matching those guys and making sure that you're putting yourself in a position within your lineup to maximize them. So you're not saying like, oh, well, if Satoransky has a great game, that kind of sucked because I also have Ish Smith and he only played 18 minutes, and that's where the groups come in. But I'd be lying to you if I told you I had an answer other than Porzingis of who does the best out of this group of guys.
Yeah. We had a super chat from Sir Ruin of House Roundhead. I'm going to the Wizards game. Don't expect them to win, but I hope I win in fantasy. Well, here, I'll give you something. If you look at our betting model at Awesemo, free trial right now, very cool tool. If the team with the best expected spread ROI or expected ROI on the spread is Washington, expected ROI on the money line, 7%, 5% on the spread. That's the best on this slate by a wide margin on any of these teams. We actually have the expected spread at plus 0.6 for Washington, and it's 3.5 pretty much everywhere else. So, hey, maybe they get it, man. It's definitely possible. Bulls aren't playing great, and Wizards with Porzingis at least look semi-competent. Daily Sam with the super chat. Can I stack Howard and Gabriel, assuming they start?
Stack's not the right word, but you can play them together.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not looking to stack. Any news? Nope. Okay. Anything? I think we covered Washington pretty well, right? We can move on. Let's talk about Let's talk about Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, I was laughing at Josh.
Yeah, you're good. Milwaukee and Philly. This one down to a pick 'em now, Adam. 231.5 total. I am definitely interested in one Giannis Antetokounmpo today. I know that you and I talked about this on the strategy show today, just that the ownership disparity between Luka and Giannis is obviously important. Like, what is it going to be close to lock? Right now it's 33% Luka, 20% Giannis. I still think that's a nice gap, but it's not crazy. And one of the reasons for that, and you mentioned it today, Luka's price is way too low right now. So I still like Giannis a lot. I don't really think there's any feasible way to build a good lineup with Luka and Giannis in it together, though, given our options.
Yeah, I think the relative lack of value on this slate makes it really difficult to do that. I just think paying attention to the ownership between Giannis and Luka is a pretty important thing to pay attention to today. Right now, we have Luka at 34% on DraftKings. We have Giannis at 20. I agree that Luka should be more popular. He's underpriced, clearly. He's in a really, really good matchup. But I do like the spot for Giannis, too. And you had hit on the point this morning, and I agree with it. The biggest thing for me is just that this game has a 2-point spread, and so much of Giannis' season and Giannis' game is impacted by the fact that the Bucks are better than almost every team that they play. And so as a result, you get lower average minutes for Giannis, and as a result, you get a price tag lower than it would be if he averaged 35 to 37 minutes a night. But when you get a game like this against Philadelphia, he's likely to play 35 to 37 minutes. He averages around 1.75 DraftKings points per minute. It makes him look really good. And even if I do still think that Luka's the better play relative to salary, just because he's a little bit cheaper, it's not by a wide margin, and the range of outcomes is about the same. So even looking at the ownership projections, which reflect large field tournaments, I think that's a pretty big gap. And then I've mentioned it earlier too. I think if you're somebody that plays single entry, 3 max, higher stakes, you're going to see an even bigger gap between Luka and Giannis in terms of ownership.
Josh, he actually did feel bad today. Adam did. He apologized. He actually said, "I'm sorry."
I did.
Which was odd. Probably because at that point he knew you weren't there. So it just into the
no, that's the only reason. I didn't feel bad about what I said. I felt bad because I said it and he didn't hear it.
Right. Of course. Ved 7 ran Vuk. I don't know. Thank you for the super chat. Best advice for tonight's slate and the 600 entry, 100K up top. It's multi-entry, but doing one lineup. All right. Vague question, Adam, but I guess the question would be one lineup in the 600 large field. Well, not large field, but it is a multi-entry tournament and he's doing one lineup.
Okay. So the first thing is be honest with yourself, what you're trying to get out of it. If you actually want to you don't care about $600, you want to win, you probably actually need to go a little bit off the board because it's a big enough field where the guys maxing it are all really good and they're going to cover the good plays basically. So being more contrarian makes sense. But you also it's like, making $1,400 for a min cash or whatever it is would be cool. Then you can still play a more conservative lineup. So to me, I think that's actually one of the things that gets overlooked is being honest with yourself about what you're trying to do if you're playing up in stakes, assuming that's up in stakes for you. If it's not, then ignore that. But otherwise, the advice, I guess, would just be that you still want to build a very good lineup, but you do want to keep in mind, you can use the ownership projections, but keep in mind that in higher stakes and as fields get smaller, and I kind of just mentioned this with Giannis, you're going to get more concentrated ownership on the popular guys. And as a result, you're going to get lower ownership on the second and third tier of guys. So whereas in large field, going to somebody like Giannis over somebody like Luka might be good, but you're not getting a huge advantage. In higher stakes, doing something like that might give you a bigger advantage, or even it doesn't have to be those two players, but that kind of thing where ownership shows that one player is clearly preferred to the other. Typically in higher stakes, you're just going to get an even bigger gap in ownership.
That's an answer that could help everybody. Teddy Wayman, is Greg Monroe viable if Rudy Gobert sits?
If he's playing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it confirmed that he's active. I know he was with the team, but inactive last game. So I'm assuming he's active. But
he's expected to be available today. That's the word.
So it still matters to me if he's starting or not. If he starts, I think he's clearly playable.
Oh my God.
If he's coming off the bench, then it's okay, are we getting 14 minutes? And I think to some extent that might still depend on the Bogdanovich and House news.
Monroe played very limited minutes, but he was, he was one of the guys that came back during the crazy COVID stuff.
Played with Washington briefly.
What's up?
Played with Washington briefly.
Yeah. I think it was right around Omicron. Yeah, it was because it was right around Christmas. And you remember his first game was nuts. He played 25 minutes and went off.
Right.
If he starts, Even if honestly, as a clear +1 fantasy point per minute guy, he's probably at like what 1.15 or something. I haven't looked. I'm just guessing he's around there. Yeah, he would be in play for sure. He could play 18 minutes, 16 minutes, honestly. And on this slate at the dead min, I don't think it's crazy at all. Do you have any other interest in Milwaukee outside of Giannis? Like Middleton seems fine at sub 8K. Holiday's priced way up from when Middleton and Giannis were out. So that seems pretty prohibitive at almost 9K.
Yeah, it's tough to get to much else here. I am sort of laughing since Josh is going at it with Arcathelza in chat, where Arcathelza is insisting that Serge Ibaka, who is currently we have projected to play 1.4 minutes, is a viable play. But outside of Giannis, I don't see a lot here that I like. Middleton is fine. Drew is fine. Well, Drew at 8,700 is really tough to get to. Middleton at 7,800 is fine. Lopez rather at 4,200 is a decent value, but tough to be really excited about him. I assume Portis is going to go back to the bench and not really be a strong option at 6,300. So I think it's a really difficult team to get to outside of Giannis.
Okay. I do like a couple props on Portis. Same with over at Odd Shopper. We had this was early. Always check early in the day. Just be aware of what possible changes you could be getting, because that can have a pretty big impact on everything. Oh man, that's a shame. Looked like they all moved. It was like Brook Lopez over a half a block at -125, Adam.
For who?
And what?
Over half a block for who?
Brook Lopez was -125. Now it's -220. So that's not going to be particularly great there. And then over a half assist. I talked about this. Watch the betting show. Or it's a short video I do every Monday through Friday. I had both of these in here. Even if they lose, you're just getting great value on them. The over a half an assist on Lopez was +160. It's at -105 now. So, yeah, no, I'm sorry. The over half assist is at, I can't find it, but clearly -135. It was at +160. Crazy stuff. Take advantage of that stuff early if you get a chance. And watch the video, 2:00 every day, Monday through Friday. Let's talk about Philly. Started off with Joel Embiid, continuing the dominance here, coming off another huge game. He's been excellent, and now you got him going up against Giannis in a marquee matchup to close out coming to a close on the season. How do you rank Embiid amongst the other top tier guys tonight?
I mean, I think he's up there. I still think Luka is a little bit ahead of him, but I do like Embiid. The biggest issue, I think, is that he's center only, so the opportunity cost is a little bit higher. We have him projected for 22% ownership, so similar to Giannis behind Luka. I think that's pretty much where he fits in.
Do you want to talk about Philly in any other capacity? I mean, mostly James Harden along with Embiid today.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Embiid and Harden. It's kind of similar to the Milwaukee team. You have Embiid and Harden at the top. They both look very good. Embiid's averaged about 1.66 DraftKings points per minute with Harden this year. Harden's averaged about 1.35 with Embiid. Harden should play around 38 minutes. Embiid should play around 35. Makes them both look very, very good. Beyond that, like Maxey and Harris certainly are capable of having good games, but it's few and far between from a fantasy standpoint, and good luck predicting when it happens. And then beyond them, I really see nothing.
All right, 2 down, 3 to go. Seeing if any news is going to roll in here. All right, bunch of Wednesday.
De'Aaron Fox is out tomorrow. That's surprising.
Yeah, right. Just a bunch of Wednesday stuff. We don't need that in our lives right now. What you do need in your lives, however, and listen up, is the Mike Trout promo. You need an annual MLB pass for 25% off simply by using the promo code. What are you shaking your head at?
Me?
No, Jordan.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Let me be honest with you. Wasn't sure I was going there until we got there. I actually had to fumble to figure out if this was even on my show to do the read, but we're here now and we figured it out. I thought you were saying I had the wrong thing. Trout, Trout, or just go to awesemo.com/promos. It's really the easiest way to do it. You don't have to type anything in. 25% off, $80 off the top if you get the annual MLB pass now. Well, or through April 1st. Then it changes to 15% through April 11th. But you're getting the top stacks tool, amazing tool, top pitchers tool, ownership, player projections, lineup builder, all of the articles, anything else I can't think of, you'll see it in there under the MLB dropdown. We have so many tools, so much data and everything else. 25% off the entire ML, and it's a long season too. So $80 off the entire season. It's solid. Awesemo.com/promos, or use the promo code Trout at checkout. And yeah, the link's in the video description as well if you wanted to just do that. But Trout, 25% off the entire year of Awesemo Plus MLB. You can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on on top of that too. All right, Detroit, no Jeremy Grant. Done for the year. They are big dogs on the. Oh, Jordan, I see why. That's my fault. That was in the sidebar. Yeah, you're right. Screwed the pooch on that one. What movie is that from? You guys are the absolute worst.
I was reading chat. I wasn't even listening.
Screwed the pooch. What movie is that from?
I have no idea.
All right, chat will get this like that. No doubt about it. Just let them know, boys. Let them know one of the greatest comedies of our lifetime that they don't know a line to. Detroit. I'll get to that next game, Jordan, after this one. My fault. Detroit, 14-point dogs, 234 total. Where do we go here, starting with Marvin Bagley? Because this dude's been excellent lately, especially as a starter in the few games he started for Detroit.
Yeah, and he should get plenty of minutes tonight with Grant out.
Levine's in.
Yeah, Levine's in. Giannis is in. I didn't know that was in question, but Giannis is in. Patrick Williams still on a minutes limit. Worth noting because he is only 3,200. You're going to get a random Pat Williams game soon, but maybe not today. Bagley, I think, looks like the best play from the Pistons. It's a good matchup in terms of Brooklyn just not being a very good defensive team. It's a rough matchup in terms of there's plenty of blowout risk. But Bagley at 5,600, basically a fantasy point per minute guy, likely to play around 32 minutes. Looks like a very, very good play at that price tag. I think that he's going to be popular. I think that he should be. Beyond that, there's not a ton that stands out, especially on DraftKings. Cunningham at 8,800, Bay at 7K. I think both guys are playable, but I also think that they're correctly priced. On FanDuel, Sadiq Bey is 5,500, so he's going to be really popular, but I don't really see a way around that. He's averaged just shy of a FanDuel point per minute without Jeremy Grant on the floor this year. Then you also get, like you and I were talking about this morning, the added benefit of if Sadiq Bey is playing well offensively, the only other really good, competent offensive player on this team is Cunningham. So you just don't have that many guys competing to take the ball away from him if he's playing well. And it just makes it so he can hit his ceiling in those games. So absolutely love Sadiq Bey on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think more of a neutral play.
All right. Once you get past Bagley, who I really, he's popular for a reason. Who did you talk about so far? I was reading, chat was flying. I was trying to pay attention to two things at once.
Disrespectful, man.
That happens,
I talked about Bay on both DraftKings and FanDuel because he's priced drastically differently. And I said, I think Cade Cunningham is fine.
Okay. What about Hayes?
I mean, he's killing.
We have him at 20% on DraftKings.
That just speaks to how bad the value is on the slate. I mean, he played 28 and a half minutes off the bench last game. You're talking about someone that averages around, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. If he gets to 28 minutes at 3,900, sure, he's a decent value. My concern with Hayes is just that, to some extent, the playing time I think is volatile. The production certainly is, and he's getting ownership. So I get it. He's a good point per dollar value. I would just be cautious with the ownership because he's not the kind of guy that I'm looking at and, being willing to just ignore ownership.
All right. Brooklyn's a little bit difficult because now you have Kyrie. You were talking about Luka, talking about we talked about Luka and Giannis, both of them in fine spots. Luka in a phenomenal spot. Then Harden and Embiid in that game against the Bucks. Now you've got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving that come into the mix. Irving's price tag has inflated dramatically lately. 10-8, 11-3 for Kevin Durant. It's a really good spot, but I do think that the blowout risk here is pretty significant. Not to say it isn't for Luka either, but Luka doesn't have a Kevin Durant or a Kyrie Irving alongside of him.
Yeah, it's a situation where I think in cash games, it's pretty easy to just ignore Kyrie and Durant and be going to Luka probably, but if not, Giannis or Embiid. But in tournaments, I do like taking the opportunity to just get to a 14% owned Kevin Durant on a 5-game slate against the Pistons or a 7% owned Kyrie Irving. They're not as good a play as the other guys. Like Kyrie Irving is more expensive than James Harden. Kevin Durant is basically the same price as Luka. He's not much less expensive than Giannis. He's more expensive than Embiid, or I think he's like $100 less than Embiid maybe. But the point being, like, people use projections. People are going to be very aware of this, and it's going to drive down ownership on those two. There's still plenty of upside for them. Like either one of them can just absolutely take over this game and have 70 fantasy points, partway through the fourth quarter. So in tournaments, I am actually pretty interested in Durant and Irving. In cash games, I think it's pretty easy to be going to alternatives.
Pricing on FanDuel is kind of crazy too. Like Giannis is 11-4, highest price player. Embiid's 11-2. Durant's 10-8. Luka's 10-5 on FanDuel. And then Harden's at 10K. Irving's at 9,800. But just given that Luka has the same positional eligibility as Irving, I think it's going to bring Irving down a little bit because 9,800 isn't bad, but 10-5 for Luka, it's not even close. There's no comparison there.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of becomes a game theory problem where you still know that, Durant or Kyrie or whoever is going to beat Luka 35, 40% of the time, whatever the number is. So it's still, it's still a, basically a math problem just between the two. But obviously the bigger the gap is to where the lower projected player is more expensive, then the less likely they are to win.
David Hanna just super chat us $20 to say Josh Engelman is the GOAT. How do you feel about that? Just paid us $20 to say it.
I think he got kidnapped by Josh.
You think, burner account? Very possible here.
No, I think we already found Josh's burner this morning.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Josh is the one that said if he saw a $20 bill on the street, he wouldn't bend down to pick it up. So
how rich?
$20 to him is nothing. He just super chatted it. What is that to him?
Right. So he wouldn't even pick up $20 and he still only gave us $19.99.
I know. He told me he wipes his ass with hundreds.
And then doesn't wash his hands.
And when him and Arcatelza were going, he didn't actually say that last part. When him and Arcatelza were going at it, Arcatelza said, poop hands Josh is right about everything. Or knows everything. These guys are going at it. Steve Case, gents, quick question. How much does fantasy points per game matter for choice selection? Had a lineup where full roster exceeded points, fire icon, yet only came in 625th play. Well, it's entirely slate dependent too. Like,
yeah, if I understand the question correctly, it's entirely slate dependent.
I don't think he's talking fantasy points per game in terms of like looking down pregame. I think he means like how good it is for that game. Right. Okay.
Like
just so
the fire icon doesn't mean anything except for that they exceeded what Draftkings thought they were going to score. Right. But on a slate like yesterday, where you have 100 guys that are going to just destroy their salary, you probably need like 8 fire icons just to have a chance at cashing because it was just a stupid slate. Other slates where, if you happen to have a slate where like 3 of the most popular guys fail, you can win a tournament without even having everything in your lineup have a fire icon. So it's just everything slate dependent. You're just competing. You're competing against everyone else's teams. And as obvious as that is, if popular players fail, it's going to be low scoring. If popular players do well, it's going to be high scoring. It's not like it's really relevant.
Right. That's a good answer. Ben Anthony, boys are looking snazzy today. Thanks for helping. Hey, thanks, guy. Appreciate you. Anybody else for Brooklyn? I don't think we talked about Drummond yet.
We didn't talk about Drummond yet. I think Drummond's really interesting. And actually this for different reasons between DraftKings and FanDuel. On DraftKings, his price tag is stupid. He's 5,500, good matchup against Detroit. I think there's a lot of volatility in Drummond's playing time tonight because we had LaMarcus Aldridge available last game. He didn't play. I don't know if that just means that Nick Claxton is ahead of him. I don't think that's what it means. I don't know if it means that tonight, you're just going to get Aldridge replacing Claxton. That would be fine for Drummond. The worst case for Drummond is that they decide they're just going to play all three of them, in addition to the fact that Kevin Durant is going to typically be your closing center. But at this price, at the price tag on DraftKings at 5,500, I don't really care that much, because if you project Drummond for like 22 to 24 DraftKings points, he looks like a pretty good play. And then knowing that he has the potential to get 30 plus like he did last game, just, it's kind of just nothing but upside there. On FanDuel, he's 6,600. So there's more risk, because if you do get that 22 to 24 minute game, he's less likely to be the guy that you want at center. But the flip side is that he's not getting much ownership at all. And if he does get that 30 to 32 minute game here against Detroit, he probably is the center that you want. So on DraftKings, it's kind of like he's so cheap, it's hard for him to truly fail. On FanDuel, it's that he's so low owned, there's a massive reward if he does succeed.
All right. Do you think Ben Simmons plays again this season, including the postseason?
I've given up on guessing that. I thought he was going to be back within like a week of being traded.
Did you? I thought he would come back after that Sixers game too.
Well, so what? Yeah, when he didn't come back originally, then I agreed with you that he was just waiting out the Sixers. I didn't know that we were going to start getting like 800 different back injuries.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's not great.
What are you going to do? All right. You good on Brooklyn? We got 2 games to go.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else from Brooklyn outside of those 3.
Live before lock coming up next as well. Let's see. Anything coming in here? No, I think we're good. Yeah, Greg and Eric up next. And then you got the post-lock show presented by Jock Market, where they have turned daily fantasy sports into a stock market. What a novel concept, huh? You can make money down to the hour, down to the minute, down to the second, I tell you. But in all seriousness, what you do is you buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money. And if you use the link in the description of this video, go over to Jock Market, use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. You get up to $100 deposit on your first, $100 bonus, on your first deposit. You could download the App Store, Google Play, whatever it is, JOCK space MKT, and get in the markets for NBA, PGA coming up, NHL, MLB's right around the corner. They have NFL as well when that returns. And they have a pregame IPO too, where you can pick up shares of your favorite players. You're feeling good about them. You can even, I always like, even if you look at our projections and compare our projections to what they have for the pregame IPO, get some phenomenal value. Buy more later, or you can sell those or hold on to it, however you want to play it. We have our free Jock Market IPO projections to help you beat the market over at Awesemo. They're free 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And there's a first market guarantee at Jock Market, which means they'll refund any losses in your first NBA market up to $100. So you get the $100 bonus, up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. And they have the first market guarantee up to $100. We have the free IPO projection tool to help you beat the market. And of course, you can download the app wherever you download apps. Jock Market, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. All right, Lakers and Dallas. Let's talk about, we're just assuming that LeBron is out, and obviously that Davis, who is doubtful, is also out. You had said this morning that Russell Westbrook still wasn't popping as that appealing today. I think, first of all, a lot of that has to do just with the fact that his price is where it is, and there's just not a lot of value.
Yeah, and that as it still, it feels really uncomfortable for me to say that I think, for example, Russell Westbrook without LeBron and Davis is comparable to Cade Cunningham or Donovan Mitchell at this price. It feels really weird because I just have flashbacks to, 6 years ago when I used to decide that like $12,000 Russ was too expensive and then just lose my ass. But I really think that he's comparable to those guys. It's not a super appealing matchup against Dallas. He's averaged about 1.3 DraftKings points per minute without LeBron or Davis on the floor this year. That's not that much better than Mitchell averages. Cunningham's playing a ton of minutes in competitive games. I don't think that there's a huge difference between those guys. I think that, if you're playing 150 lineups, you certainly should be getting to some Russ. The usage goes up, the rebounding goes up, the assist percentage goes up. There's big triple-double upside here. But from an average standpoint, I kind of think the price tag is correct for LeBron and Davis to be out, and he's just egregiously overpriced when they're in.
Ryan Johnson said, today's show's not helping for clarity's sake. I'm more confused about who to play than before we started. Well, I don't think he should be. I mean, there's not much reason to see it that way. There's still some pending news, but we know that
seemed pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, it's the problem is the slate's almost too straightforward at this point. And then you just have a shit ton of Washington players that you can mix in. But I mean, as far as priorities go, like, yeah, you have Luka. I don't know, man. And I think Bagley, I wouldn't say he's a cash game priority, but there just aren't a ton of guys from a value standpoint that you look at and go, as you usually would in late March or early April, and go, you know what, you have to play those guys. You just have to play. There isn't a 3,500 Tyus Jones tonight.
Right. Yeah. You don't have like four guys that you're saying like, yeah, you kind of just have to play them, but there's still a pretty clear cut top tier guys where it's you're Embiid, Doncic, Harden, Giannis, like obviously any of those guys are good. One of the Bulls guys, Bagley, Porzingis, Drummond, and then mixing and matching cheap Wizards.
How do we want to approach the Lakers? And I'll get to your guys' super chats in just a second. I didn't forget about you. This is another one of those teams where you have a bunch of guys projected in that 10 to 20% range, from Monk to Dwight Howard to Carmelo to Stanley Johnson. Ownership projections free, like I said, if you want to get in on it. Westbrook at 14, Wayne Gabriel. What type of groups do you set with the Lakers, as we talked about with Washington?
I would say I think the Lakers are kind of like Washington version 2.0, where obviously Westbrook is the top projected guy. If you're comparing them, I prefer Porzingis to Westbrook, but same kind of deal. And then you just get all these 5K or below guys where it's one or two of them probably going to do well. Good luck. Carmelo at 4,600 certainly is not a bad option. He's averaged a little over 0.9 DraftKings points per minute without LeBron and Davis this year. If the Lakers elect to play a little bit smaller and go with Melo, that would obviously be good, at the expense of Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard at 3,800, if he gets substantial minutes here, should actually wreck this Dallas frontcourt, I think, and be a good play at 3,800. Stanley Johnson's probably playing around 30 minutes at 3,300. He's not a good point per minute guy. He's at about 0.72 DraftKings points per minute without LeBron or Davis this year. But if he plays 30 minutes, that's a pretty good value on a slate that doesn't have a lot of value. Wendy Gabriel is close to a fantasy point per minute guy, 0.9 to 1 fantasy points per minute. He's likely to play upper 20s to 30. He's 4K. He looks pretty good, but not slate breaking good. And then Malik Monk, I think, actually is probably a worse point per dollar value than those guys, but also more likely to just completely break the slate, where it turns into Malik Monk taking over the game and he scores 40 something DraftKings points. So any of those guys I think are playable. Even Talen Horton-Tucker at 4,100, if he were to start, I think would look good. I'm not expecting him to start, but if he does, he would look better. Austin Reeves at 3,500 is another. He's basically Stanley Johnson the second. He's probably going to play around 30 minutes. He's around a 0.6 to 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. So I guess assuming the starting lineup is going to be Westbrook, Monk, Gabriel, Johnson, and Howard, I think that the best values are Howard, Johnson, and Gabriel, followed by Anthony. Westbrook's the best pay up. Monk is interesting to just kind of gamble on the upside in tournaments. But the starting lineup could be a bunch of different things. You could get Austin Reeves in there too. You could get Horton-Tucker. So I am curious what the starting lineup's going to be.
Yeah, 7:30 game, so we shouldn't get that too late. Hopefully we get it before 7. We'll see. Maybe live before lock can guide us through some of that. All right, a couple super chats here. Goody, what's up, brother? Best pivot off Gabriel, and assuming pivot to Monroe off Howard if Monroe starts. Well, the problem with Monroe and with Howard is we just have zero idea. The games are 2.5 hours separated. You might get that Rudy Gobert is out kind of early, Adam. Let's just assume you do. Still probably won't get the starting lineup until well after lock from that Dallas and Lakers game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If you do, if we were to get right now, Rudy Gobert out, Greg Monroe starting, then it's not even pivoting off Howard to Monroe because both guys are going to get ownership. So
right,
you're kind of in just a winless spot there because unless you're in touch with like Quinn Snyder or something, and you're going to get the information first. You're either, I mean, so if like we get 7:15 news where Gobert is out and Monroe is starting, like very specific situation, then I think naturally you're going to get a situation where Monroe is under-owned and Howard is relatively over-owned. But assuming that the more realistic choices are either we get the news like within the next hour or we don't get the news, it's probably just going to be a situation where like if you get it early, Monroe's going to get ownership. And if you don't, then you don't have that choice anyway.
Hey, 44 likes to 100. Atone for your sins if you have since forgot, or to 500. 500. Thank you. Always looking at Jordan's face when I screw something up.
We got a Ben Simmons update. Did you know that was coming when you asked the question?
No, how odd is that though? I was just going to mention that after asking to get us to 500 likes.
Did you see the update?
Yeah, and it just seems like Nash is like, fuck this.
Yeah, like obviously I have no idea how he said it, but just reading it, I'm reading it in a tone just like screw this guy.
Read it out loud because I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Ben Simmons still has not done any on-court work and hasn't made any progress per Coach Nash.
Doesn't it feel like Nash is just like, get this away from me? Yeah.
Right. Like I'm just, and again, like I didn't see the interview, but like, is he making progress? No.
Yeah, right. Any on-court activity? Nope.
Right. Yeah. Don't know where he is.
Next question.
Right.
Jeff Williams asked, is Westbrook, Monk, and Howard too much negative correlation on DraftKings considering it's only a 5-gamer playing a single bullet in the DK 600?
Where'd we go?
Westbrook, Monk, and Howard.
It's not too much negative correlation. Like I don't have any problem playing those three. Like they can easily share the floor together. Do I think that they are three of the best plays on the slate? No, I don't think any of them individually are the best plays. So having all of them together is kind of not what I would necessarily want to do. But if you disagree with me, like if you're higher on Westbrook, Monk, Howard individually than I am, then there's no negative correlation there that you need to worry about. Okay.
And welcome to the family, Red Skittles. Badge looks good on you, man. Hit that join down below if you want to join Team Awesemo around here. All right, we got to get through these super chats. See, sometimes this happens, and then it's just you wonder why you go late. Julio G, do you ship my money? Do you always use randomness in 100K top prize tournaments, GPPs, or how do you determine? We try and make this quick. I know he's super chatting us. I appreciate it, but or how do you determine when or how to use it?
I mean, I pretty much always use it, but this is one where, and I don't mean it in like I'm going to ignore this question kind of way. You need to use lineup study to figure out how to get Fantasy Cruncher to build the lineups that you want. The way that I use randomness isn't going to help you because I always use randomness, but I also have a bunch of things as part of my process that I do to then determine what lineups I want to play. So all the randomness is doing for me is helping give me a bunch of different lineups that I can choose from. If you're somebody that is saying like, I'm going to just, build however many lineups I need, like if you need 20 lineups, you need 150, whatever, then there's a different answer to what you should be doing. You kind of just need to find a way that randomness fits into your overall process so that the lineups you're playing look like the lineups that you want to play.
Dallas, let's talk about Luka Doncic and the rest of this team that is largely unappealing on most days, but today looking a little bit different, just given the overall complexity of this slate in an odd way. We don't really need to talk much about Luka. I think we can kind of just save the time and get to this in the next game, right? Like just play him.
Luka's great. He's egregiously underpriced on DraftKings. Beyond him, Brunson actually looks a little bit underpriced at 5,900. If you end up with a little bit of Finney Smith, Bullock, Powell, Kleba, that's all fine. I wouldn't play Powell and Kleba together. But yeah, I mean, Luka very, very, very clearly the priority here.
All right. Any other thoughts on Dallas?
Nope.
Let's wrap it up then. We've got Utah and the Clippers. This is good. We're good on time because we already discussed a lot with what's going on with Utah, how we really have no idea. At this point, Rudy Gobert's questionable. Missed last game. Bojan Bogdanovic is questionable, and we don't know what's going to happen. It is a 10 p.m. game. Every other game is 7:30 or earlier, and it puts us in a very, very tough – it puts us in a bit of a pickle, Adam, so to speak.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, and I really don't even have a good answer to how to handle it because I feel like I don't have a good read on if Gobert is going to play or not. If I had to like guess 50-50, I would guess that he does, but I really don't know. But then the other thing makes it really difficult, and Jeffrey Phelan just mentioned this in chat. He said, I thought Pascal started the other night when Rudy was out. Why would he not start again? The answer is because Bojan Bogdanovic was out that game. He's also questionable. Daniel House was out that game. He's also questionable. And Greg Monroe was unavailable that game, and now he's available. So we really have no idea what Utah's going to do because we don't know who's going to be in between Gobert, House, and Bogdanovic. I don't know actually who's ahead in the rotation. Like if Gobert and Bogdanovic were out and House is in, I don't know if House is ahead of Pascal or Pascal's ahead of House. I don't know what they're doing with Monroe. So it's just a situation where even if Gobert is out, those other guys matter. If Gobert is in, I actually think he's one of the best plays on the slate at 7,300, which is the thing that makes this even more difficult to deal with because $7,300 Gobert looks very, very good here. It's a very cheap price tag. He's I think just pretty clearly underpriced. But the problem is that if he's ruled out, there's no easy swap in this game because there's no other. I mean, Pascal and Hernangomez have center eligibility, but like you don't want to just be straight swapping Gobert to those guys. On the other side of this game, you have Zubats and Hartenstein who are fine, but they're far from priorities or people that I want to just be turning Rudy Gobert into. But like if Gobert is in, I absolutely love him. So it's kind of, to me, this is just a like decision that you have to make for yourself as far as risk aversion goes. There's a very good reward available if you assume Rudy Gobert is in, you play Rudy Gobert, and he ends up being in. Because whatever his ownership is, it's pretty safe to say it's going to be lower than it would be if we got news right now that Gobert is in. The flip side to that is if you play a lot of Gobert and he gets ruled out, it's going to be pretty difficult to bail yourself out and have lineups that look even remotely as good as you would like them to.
Anything else from Utah, from Mitchell to Mike Conley?
Mitchell looks fine. Like if you do happen to have Gobert lineups where you have two spots available, getting one of them to Mitchell, you would make sense. If Bogdanovic is out, you're probably getting pretty healthy minutes from Jordan Clarkson again. Not a priority at 6K, but he would look a little bit better if Bojan is out. Conley kind of looks okay, but I think Gobert is very clearly the top guy from Utah if he happens to play.
All right, we'll wrap it up with the Clippers. Before we do, though, join me, sit back, and enjoy this read from Breaks of God. Breaks of God, baby. What if you caught a break with the potential to net a couple $100,000 with less than $100 investment? Well, we have great news because breaksofgod.com is the place to catch that break. Breaks of God is the largest sports card collecting trend to catch fire in America. And it's how sports card collectors of all ages are building high-value card collections without huge investments or risk. It has quickly become an economical and popular way for sports fans to get potentially high-value or rare cards without having to buy a $1,500 box or case themselves. From football to baseball and everything in between, there are many slot options available from under $100, so you can get in on the big money action. Breaks of God breaks dramatically increase your odds of getting big money premium sports trading cards for a fraction of the cost of expensive, hard-to-get boxes. All the cards are broken from sealed premium boxes live on Instagram, and the cards are shipped directly to you for free. Jordan, get ready for this. I'm coming to you at the end. For free when the live break is over. Slots are limited, though, so act fast. To learn more about how you can hit big money cards and get 30% off your first break, go to breaksofgod.com/A30. That's A30 like Awesemo. breaksofgod.com/A30 and get 30% off your first break. Also, Jordan, where should we follow them on Instagram?
At Breaks of God.
Breaks of God. Let's get it. breaksofgod.com. Talk to me about the Clippers. There's not much here. Paul George is playing, but at that price point, he's completely irrelevant, especially with all the starters' minutes already limited.
Yeah, LeBron and Davis confirmed out.
Okay.
The Clippers, I mean, dumpster fire. Like Paul George at 9K, I'm good. Don't want to go there. Somebody had asked about FanDuel earlier. I'm not sure what his salary was there. I'm trying to look quickly. 9,300. Yeah, I'm good. I just can't imagine that. Like they came out and said they don't want to play Jackson more than 30. They're limiting Morris to 25, Batum to 19. Weird numbers for what it's worth, but I have a hard time thinking that it's going to be like, oh, hey guy, you haven't played in 2 months, go play 36. So yeah. I'm not going to George. Jackson at 7K is whatever. I mean, people were saying that like if you have Gobert and you have to swap, Jackson's not the worst, and they're right. That's where I would go, but I'm not going to be happy about it. To me, the only thing that's actually kind of appealing from the Clippers is if you get a little bit of like Hartenstein at 4,700. or Zubats, but probably Hartenstein. But realistically, there's nothing I want here.
No, it's ugly. Anyway, that'll do it for us. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, myself at Lafayette_D, and shout out to our boy Jordan Klein for producing this show. As always, Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist coming up next. Plus, stick around with them 30 minutes after lock. They'll be breaking it all down, ownership, you name it, and a whole lot more right here on Live Before Lock. We'll see you back here tomorrow for an 11 gamer on the Deeper Dive. Peace.
For the first guy?
I saw that it's literally 10 hours basically. It like starts at 10 a.m.
Every game.
Yeah,
every game.
It's beautiful stuff. That's gonna be a crazy slate. MLB's here, baby. But not right now. We've got NBA time. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, presented by Jock Market. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking through this 5-gamer with one piece of news that is just aggravating me to no end. But I got the guy who's going to be able to help me figure out exactly what I need to do with my lineups. That's Greg Ehrenberg. He's my partner in crime here on these Live Before Lock shows at G Ehrenberg DFS. Go give him a follow. Greg, how you doing, my dude?
Wait, you're really that stressed about Daniel House being questionable?
Big time. Bogdanovich really is the agitation.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why. Because who's going to play the center minutes for the Utah Jazz today? But I mean, it is a good overall talking point for this slate in terms of strategy. Of course, we're talking actually about Rudy Gobert being questionable. I'm sure the guys before us were just hitting on this, but it's really, really difficult to navigate because we saw this last night in a totally unexpected way where Trey Mann gets ruled out, 30 minutes before the OKC Portland game starts. And there were guys we could swap to that were cheaper, and it was a game we all had a bunch of exposure to already. What makes today's situation so difficult with Rudy Gobert is if he plays, he's a really, really good option. If he doesn't play, we're probably not going to find out until every other game locks, and there's nowhere to swap.
Not only that, but you have Greg Monroe, who I presume has a possibility of playing like actual minutes at 3K over on DraftKings. Eric Pascal is 3,300. The solution I had, Greg, you're going to be happy to hear this. I only played one site today. It's FanDuel.com.
Oh.
It's the only one that I played on for DFS purposes. No Yahoo, no DK, because I can't deal with Gobert being as good of a center play as he is. Now, there's a number of FanDuel lineups that I've allocated where I'm willing to just blow them up. And in the event that Rudy Gobert doesn't play, I probably in a lot of trouble. I'm leaving 2,100 on the table and going to Zubats, who I do not like as a play. There's some swaps where I can make it work. Hartenstein, do I want to play him at 6,400? No, I do not. But there are some swaps that I have where I can actually land on some players with Donovan Mitchell, get down to Clarkson. I've worked out swaps just on one site, but you need to work out all of the swaps on every site in order to really know what you're doing. Have you worked it out over on DK? I couldn't figure it out, and I just quit trying.
So I think this is probably what you have to do. I think you have to create a rule that if you play Rudy Gobert, you need to have at least one other player from the Jazz Clippers game. And I think that's the only solution, because we're just not going to know ahead of time. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. We'll find out whether Rudy Gobert is playing or not in the next hour. Seems fairly unlikely to me, though. So I think you have to set up your lineups with an expectation that Rudy Gobert is going to play for now, because you want to have him in your lineups if he's there. And I think he's ultimately going to come in fairly low owned. Like, yes. I don't think people are going to want to go play Rudy Gobert. I think what most people are going to do is just ignore the situation and just be like, nah, I don't hear no evil, see no evil, and just hope it doesn't, ruin your lineups. But it's something, especially for a 5-game slate that isn't filled with value. It's something we probably need to get exposure to.
Yeah, it's brutal to try to figure out what to do on DK. So I understand if you want to embrace that, have fun. But there's just too many question marks, I think, to really figure it out for both sites for me today. I'm on a live before lock show. All four of the 5 games lock between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm enjoying it. I'm playing 50 lineups on FanDuel. I'm going to allocate a couple going towards Gobert. I've worked out the swaps that I will have on those. As you said, I have at least 2 players from that Utah Clippers game alongside Gobert. I'm willing to just say, all right, if he ends up getting ruled out, I at least know what I'm going to do with those lineups, and I'm fine to kind of live with it. I don't know how I'd feel about Gobert being the only piece in lineups, even though he's really the best play from the entire game for me. Donovan Mitchell is pretty intriguing for FanDuel purposes, but again, I'm just kind of choosing that route. You do what you want with your money. I'm trying to make the best decisions I can to help you make money. That's kind of the only site that I think it really works and makes sense for me to be on the show, helping you out. DraftKings, best of luck to everybody. Hopefully nobody from that game matters outside of maybe some Donovan Mitchell. But either way, let's smash that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. All of those go a long way for us here at Awesemo. We have so many nice people saying nice things. Butto Jenkins being nice from the get-go. Finally, Greg the Beauty and Brains. And then Eric Lindquist, the comic relief. What am I? You think I'm funny? Funny looking? What? Do I amuse you?
Funny how?
Funny how? Appreciate you, Butto. But Uzi, $5 right out of the get-go. We appreciate you. Am I crazy for loving KD/Kyrie and stacking the game? I think it goes over and is the best game. Mavs should be up by 18 at the half. No. Let's start this for our guard conversation. Luka Doncic, massive piece for the FanDuel slate. Just a joke where he's priced at. Even on DK, 11-4, garnering a lot of attention, 33.3%. That's 1/3 of the field because I know math, Greg. Kyrie Irving, 6.1%. Now, just looking at ownership, I think there's some viability to what he's saying. But do you have more Luka or Kyrie in your lineups today?
So 2-part question, because you asked 2 questions.
I did.
Luka, but I'm overweight to Kyrie. It's not a difficult number to be overweight to Kyrie. And this was a DraftKings specific question, correct?
I'm assuming so. Let me double check here. Am I crazy for loving KD/Kyrie? Let's assume DK and Uzi. You're good people. If it's FanDuel you want to have us refer to, that's fine too.
Well, we could talk about it on both sites. Okay. And it's actually kind of the same answer on both for me anyway. I have more exposure to Luka than Kyrie. I'm actually overweight to Luka as well, even with him being pretty popular in both FanDuel and DraftKings. But still, it's not hard to be overweight to Kyrie Irving. He's less than 20% owned on FanDuel. The pricing is much softer there. Over on DraftKings, do I think he's the best points per dollar play on the slate? Absolutely far from it. But do I think he lands in the optimal lineup more than 6% of the time? Absolutely. I wouldn't be looking to play Kyrie Irving in a cash game, mostly because, his price is so expensive. He's not a good points per dollar play. But we're looking for upside here, and Kyrie Irving's really, really low owned on a 5-game slate with upside. We've seen him have some monster fantasy games this year. Well, it hasn't been in either of the last 2 games. Look at the games he had before that. 63 fantasy points, 87. Another game was 69 against Charlotte, 56 against the Milwaukee Bucks. We know the ceiling's there for Kyrie Irving, so I think he's somebody to get to like 10 to 15% of on DraftKings, and then he's somebody to have, probably 25 to 30% or so on FanDuel.
Yeah, I have 20% of him on the number on FanDuel. I'm exactly at the field on him. He's not a guy that I'm taking a super large stand one way or the other. I obviously prefer Luka. I mean, Luka is 10-5, $700 on FanDuel, pretty negligible over there. On DK, though, I think it matters a little bit more to look at those $600. Might have some use for those. Plus, I think Giannis in a game that should be competitive here. I don't mind hitting the little thumbs up over on Fantasy Cruncher, which brings us into this super chat from Courtney Crump. Love you guys.
We didn't answer the rest of Uzi's question.
Oh, okay. Let's finish that out. So I think it goes over and is the best game. Mavs should be up by 18 and stacking the game. I am not looking to stack on any 5-gamer period.
No, and also I think it's suboptimal to have KD and Kyrie in the same lineups, especially considering what their prices are now. There was a point in time where Kyrie was like 6,600, 6,900. I forget exactly what the salary was on FanDuel. It is a totally different ballgame when these guys are both as expensive as they are. And we have Harden on this. We have Embiid. We have Luka. There's so many payoff options. It's hard for me to think that KD and Kyrie are both going to be the 2 highest scoring players on the slate. The other thing also is I don't know how you could be concerned about blowout risk in the Mavs game, but not in the Nets game, because the Nets are a bigger favorite over the Pistons than the Mavericks are over the Lakers. So it's not to say that neither of the game carries blowout risk, but it's comparable in both spots.
Yeah, but Craig, they both were the 2 highest scorers against Memphis.
Did you just call me Craig?
I said Greg.
I think you called me Craig.
But Greg. No, it sounds like but Greg as I was running into it. But Greg. I could see where you heard it, but you're wrong.
Yeah, I think you don't know what my name is.
But Greg, they were the 2 highest scorers on the slate the other night against Memphis. It happened one time. Don't read too much into it. I appreciate you, Uzi. You're great people. That's why we gave you more than $5 of attention. Keep being you. Courtney Crump, love you guys. We love you too. I have the platinum sub, but I don't have FC. Is there a way to purchase FC separately? There sure is. It's an add-on that you can get. You simply go up to Awesemo. We have a number of different places where you can sign up. Put the link in chat, Jordan Klein. Be useful. Earn your keep. Hi, Jordan Klein. Behind the virtual glass. Appreciate you. I'm still mad at you, though. Greg doesn't know why I'm mad at you. Well, no, Greg does know why I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you.
Oh, I do know why. Yeah, I'm mad at Jordan, too.
Yeah.
I'll send you a good link for that rock code I was talking about.
Okay. Michael McKinney, $2. Hi. Favorite 3 non-pay-ups to play FanDuel cash. So we're looking for the not expensive guys. Does that put DeMar DeRozan in play? Because I think he's a must-play at 42% ownership over there. Greg, give me 2 other guys to go with DeMar DeRozan, who's kind of fringe in terms of like not expensive. Give me your favorite 3 cash plays over on FanDuel.
3 non-pay-ups. So what are we going to say? Is this going to be? Are you going to say like Luka again, like the other day?
I hate you. Carmelo Anthony's one at 4,100. That's a broken tag.
So I'm going to say Satoransky, Melo, and I guess Sadiq Bey.
Yep, those are the 3. If you're going to talk sub 7K, I do like DeRozan, Cade Cunningham as well into those guys. For FanDuel purposes, both sub 8K. That's wrong too. But Luka, clearing away the best spend up, period, end of story over on FanDuel.com. Let's keep going with the guard position. I'm going to jump over and look at DraftKings here. I only have the 1 lineup that I put into play for that one, just so I could talk through a little bit of this slate. James Harden, Cade Cunningham, Russell Westbrook. A lot of guys that are kind of middling plays, 14 to 20% owned for all of those guys. We talked about the Luka Kyrie expenditures at the very top end. Do any of those three tickle your fancy on this slate? Russell Westbrook, Cade Cunningham, and James Harden. Yes, I said tickle your fancy.
I would think that we would like Russell Westbrook here, but I just don't really. There's a lot of pay up options on the slate, and I prefer all of them to Russell Westbrook. And first, by starting over on DraftKings, we look at all the pay up guard options. I prefer Luka. I prefer Kyrie. I prefer Harden. All of them to Westbrook today. I know there's no Anthony Davis. I know there's no LeBron James. And actually, for that matter, also, I have Cade Cunningham projected for more fantasy points at the same exact price as Russell Westbrook on DK. So I find it really hard to prioritize Russ, which would have just seemed insane to me when you consider that there's no LeBron, no Anthony Davis. If you told me before the season started, hey, there's going to be a Russ slate where LeBron and AD are both out, and he's going to be 8,800 on DK, I'd be like, oh, okay, he's a lock on that slate. Not even close to it for me. I'm getting to him in single-digit percent of lineups. Over on FanDuel, I think Westbrook is slightly better looking because he's 8,100. So difference in salary there. So I still like getting to him there, but at least on DraftKings, I'm just not prioritizing him.
I know it's crazy to say out loud, but I really don't have a ton of interest either going his direction on DK. 8,100 on FanDuel. Yeah, I have an uncomfortable amount of Russell Westbrook. I'm near 30% on him. Maybe I should turn some more of that into Kyrie now that we talked through that, but it is what it is. It's 8,100. It's just the 1 point for turnovers over there as well, and no triple-double bonus. It's like, well, of course he's 8,100 over there because everything else about his game has been terrible here of late. But against Dallas, if it's going to be competitive, if I'm going to have lots of Luka, which I think you should on FanDuel, I got to sprinkle in some Russell Westbrook, or even my case, just playing a lot more of him than the field. It's a gross feeling, but it is what it is. Ben Anthony, $1.99. You look truly amazing, Eric. I don't know how you do it, boss. I have nothing to add. That's a perfect. No notes. Perfect super chat. Gray, $1.99. Are we eating the Tomas and Gabriel chalk on FanDuel? Oh boy, Tomas Satoransky, Wayne Gabriel. How do you feel about those two on FanDuel, Greg?
Yeah, so starting with Satoransky, yeah, I think he's a good piece of chalk at just 3,600. The first day he moved into the starting lineup, you and I were like, all right, what are they going to do with the minutes here? They've got Satoransky, they've got Ish Smith, they've got Hotwell Neto. But what happened was Satoransky started, Neto just fell out of the rotation. Yep. So he's still playing 30 minutes per game as a starter here, Satoransky. Is he a really good fantasy producer? No, far from it. But if you look at his fantasy totals in those two games, the one against Pistons, 29 minutes, he scores 23.6 FanDuel fantasy points. Then he plays 30 minutes against the Warriors, puts up 24.1. On a shorter slate where we don't have that many value options to get to, if we could count on Satoransky to get us, at like 23, 24 fantasy points, which I think is a reasonable projection, I think he's a good piece of chalk to get to.
Apparently I called you Craig. I don't care. Gray, $1.99. Are we eating the... No, we just talked about that. Cool. Jake Lindland.
What was it? What was it?
I had to go through so many people saying whether or not I said Greg or Craig that I lost track of all the super chats. Jake Lindland, fave high.
No, wait. We didn't talk. Sorry, we didn't talk about Wendy and Gabriel yet. That was from last super chat.
Yeah, he's fine. He's going to play mid-20s minutes, and he makes sense as a guy that could get some extended run. He's a decent fantasy point per minute guy. I don't completely hate it. He's 3,500 in the floor on FanDuel. I mean, I had 32% of him. What is it about 32%? I have three guys at 32% in 50 lineups. That is a weird number to just randomly show up for a number of guys. But yeah, I'm over the field on Wendy and Gabriel.
You should probably recrunch.
At least it's not 6'6".
I think Gabriel's about appropriately to maybe a little bit too low owned. The one issue here I have with him is I just have no clue what to do with his minutes because number one, he gets into foul trouble a lot. But then number two, also, he's just been so all over the place in terms of playing time. You look at his last three starts, 32 minutes, 30 minutes, 18 minutes. That end, I don't necessarily think he's guaranteed to start. We've seen the Lakers go with a lot of different starting lineups. But he's cheap enough on FanDuel, and there isn't, just an abundance of value to the point where I think that he is worth getting to in, 25 to 30 or 32% of lineups.
EMAC out there. Definitely called him Craig. That's fantastic. Appreciate you, EMAC. You keep being you. Daily Sam, love you though. $1.99. Can you play Howard and Gabriel together? That's the follow-up question to that one.
Is that actually, I was going to ask, is it a DraftKings or FanDuel question? The answer is yes. for a 5-game slate, they're both cheap enough. And it's not like these guys are 0.6 or 0.7 fantasy point per minute producers. Even if they could cut into each other a little bit to where they're negatively leveraged, they're cheap enough where it's not the end of the world. So yes, you could get to both of them.
Yeah, they're not mid 4K guys that cannibalize each other's minutes like Washington, where you might want to have some groups in play, but that's something Adam's been talking about for a while. I'm sure he talked about it. I caught a little bit of the last show. I'm sure he talked about it again because he always does. And it's a sharp thing to do. I think that's it. I think we're caught up on super chats. Back to guard, my friend. Are there any value pieces at guard on the DraftKings slate specifically? I'll cover a little bit of FanDuel, but guards over on DraftKings. Anybody that you're getting to a little bit over the field on?
Let's see. Let me refresh the ownership page to make sure I'm looking at the most recent number, and then I'll know for sure who I'm over underweight to. By the way, ownership projections free today. If you guys want to check them out, just go to awesemo.com, click on the ownership, and then you could see what all the stuff is there that we usually have behind the paywall. Current guys that I am overweight to. Guards. So we've talked about Kyrie already. It's so easy to be overweight to Kyrie Irving just because of how not popular he is. There's some really crappy value plays with guard eligibility that I'm landing on a little bit more than the field just because I like paying up for stars on this slate. So guys like Killian Hayes, Corey Kispert, just players who I think it's possible because these guys are both playing extended minutes as of late. If you could just walk into 25 fantasy points from them and then you get upside from any of the stars on slate, which I think is fairly likely. This is a very star heavy slate. We're going to need these salary savings somewhere. And that's why I think guys like Killian Hayes, Corey Kispert are a little bit under-owned, even if they aren't really good points per minute fantasy producers.
All right. Jake Lindland had a super chat. I was going to bring it up then. Greg, whatever you want to call it, Gate happened. Craig Gate. That seems appropriate. Jake Lindland, favorite high, mid, and low price play for Yahoo today. So check out the Yahoo slate, Greg. Let me know your favorite high, mid, and low price play over on Yahoo.
All right. I don't have I assume you said you're only playing on one site. So
I'm only playing one. I do have the Yahoo projections up because I was just kind of, looking at it regardless. I thought maybe I'd play a little bit more over there. Just kind of took it easy today because this is such a glaring thing with Rudy Gobert that I find it hard to want to go nuts. But, there's money to be made by making the right decision there. Somebody's going to do it is the way I look at it. Somebody's going to play Rudy Gobert a lot. And I'm not going to be that guy. Rui Hachimura is $10. He's my favorite cheapie. He's going to grade out as the best value piece. He's 28% rostered over there. I think that's just fine. But that's kind of the one guy that I think at power forward specifically. I think that really makes sense to go to him because I'm not going to land on a $57 Giannis. So he's that guy. In the mid-range, Sadiq Bey's $25. I think he makes the most sense at small forward. There's really nobody to pay up for there. Chris Middleton's $32, the most expensive guy. And to round it all out, Luka Doncic, $53. He's cheaper than Embiid. He's cheaper than Giannis. That makes him a pretty easy click for Yahoo. What do you think about those three?
Yeah. So while you were talking, very good timing by you, by the way, because I uploaded my projections really quick to Yahoo, and then I just ran a crunch while you were doing that with 20 lineups just to kind of get an idea of who I would view as being the top plays based on that. And pay up option, no brainer, Luka Doncic, pretty easy to see the reasons as to why. If you go down, I know that Tobias Harris has not been good as of late for the Philadelphia 76ers, especially ever since they traded for James Harden. $19 for him, though. That's somebody who I landed on a lot in this crunch with my projections. It's such a cheap salary for Tobias Harris. And you're getting to a point now where you're not comparing Tobias Harris to the Tobias Harris of the past, where you're paying, $7,800 from on DraftKings or $8K on FanDuel or anything. This is $19 for him. For reference, the other forwards in this price range, Bruce Brown is $22. Denny Abdi is $16. This is now the tier of players that we're comparing Tobias Harris to, at least on Yahoo. So he's my mid-range play. And then for value, I agree with Rui Hachimura.
Yep. Love it. I really do like pretty much everything you said about Harris. He's 5,900 on the FanDuel slate. We'll talk about him here in a second. I want to get your take about Harris over there on that side as well, because the floor being $10 on Yahoo, Harris sticks out even a little bit more on Yahoo than he's going to on FanDuel. But Ryan is not a fan of Tobias Harris in this situation, and I might
even on Yahoo at $19.
Yeah, I was going to say, at $19, you got to kind of be looking that direction a little bit. But just talking on the Slate Starter podcast, which every single night we are doing Twitter Spaces along with it. Come hang out with us. Come chat. It'll be going live on the Awesemo feed. We are doing the NBA Slate Starter podcast live, talking through tomorrow's slate right from the get-go as soon as pricing comes out. And then we take questions at the end. So Ryan been doing a great job hanging out a little bit extra, working overtime here for us in order to have some fun interaction with everybody that tunes in every single night. Really fun. Let's keep it going, my friend. Anybody else from guard that really sticks out to you? I mean, Zach LaVine, we got confirmation he's going to play. That makes everybody outside of Io on FanDuel is just super, super cheap. Is going to be in the starting lineup here again. I think he's okay to get to, but I really don't have any other like strong take at guard.
Where do you stand on Reggie Bullock at 4,200? The minutes have been so significant for him that at the very least, I think his floor is really valuable for a slate like this where we're hurting for value and need pay-up options. So Reggie Bullock, and this is going to be more DraftKings specific because of the 3-point bonus, but the last 4 games, and keep in mind he's 4,200 today, shooting guard and small forward eligibility, 35 fantasy points, 16, 18.75, 34.75. And it's just the playing time for him too, 35, 33, 34, 36, 36. There's a path where he lands in the optimal lineup, even just scoring 20 fantasy points today where, Luka has a big game. Giannis has a big game. We just need those salary savings. So I don't project Reggie Bullock outrageously well, but once again, I think he's somebody who's hard to get away from just because of his price point and the playing time.
Yeah, FanDuel, I had 0%. So I was glad that you said that it was DraftKings specific. I think he's all right. If you just kind of look at it, Jalen Brunson is a guy, 5,900. Special shout out to him. I would have a lot of him if I was playing over on DraftKings today. As it stands, I'm not. So I've got one lineup and he's in it. I think that 5,900 is just a really low tag that you're getting for a guy who's shown the ability to just kind of go to that 37-40, which I think is good enough on a slate like this at 5,900. I think he's somebody that I would want to mix in quite a bit there. I prefer him as the second piece from Dallas. Bullock, I probably slightly prefer. He's okay. I will say there's just no real take that I have for him. Looking at his ownership right now, he's about appropriately owned, I would say, but only a 0.62. You can get these 3-point outputs from him, but if you don't, it's just kind of a dead spot. And we have guys cheaper. Corey Kispert, my favorite play on the DraftKings slate for value. So 3,900, I strongly prefer him to Reggie Bullock, but I understand if you land on Bullock in some lineups.
Yeah. And once again, it's just, there are not guys I look at for cheap today and are like, oh, I love that guy. Like Satoransky has some floor because of the amount of minutes he's playing. But I group all these guys together, Satoransky, Bullock, Kispert, Killian Hayes. I think they all have really similar outlooks, and we just have to save salary somewhere or else we can't play the stars on the slate. So some of them kind of become inevitable, and I think it just makes sense to mix and match them.
Yeah. What do you think the Lakers starting lineup is going to be?
That's so tough just because they change it every game where you think you know what it is, and then it's not what it was the game before. But so the ones that I feel best about are actually just Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook locked to start. Other than that, I guess Austin Reeves, Stanley
Malik
Johnson,
Monk,
Wenyen Gabriel, Dwight Howard.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Taylor Horton-Tucker's 3,500 on FanDuel. I know we could talk about him at the forward spot as well. I mean, you have to have some interest. And I know he's been abysmal in a lot of spots, but anytime he's got an extended run into the 30s, I mean, he's just such a free square at 3,500 if he ends up in that starting unit. And I'm hoping that news doesn't come out until after Milwaukee, Philly, and Chicago and Washington lock, which is another reason you guys should stick around here for the After Lock show that we're going to be doing, presented by Jock Market. Looking forward to talking Jock Market. Played a little bit over there yesterday. Had a lot of OKC players, a lot of Portland players. That worked out better than I was expecting. So excited to run it back tonight with Jock Market. We'll be hanging out, talking through it. But Taylor Horton-Tucker, FanDuel specific shout out, 3,500 for him over on DraftKings. What in the world? Craig on DraftKings. How do you feel about Taylor Horton-Tucker over there?
What bizarre world are you in that you're doing this show from?
I am Tobey Maguire in his Spider-Man universe. That's what I'm in. Like, just not even here.
So Taylor Horton-Tucker is another one where there's upside there because we've seen it from this year. He's also reasonably priced, but I'm prioritizing the other cheaper players also because I don't think he's going to start. If we end up seeing a starting lineup with THT in it, I'll feel differently. But the minutes haven't really been there for him as of like the last 3 games, 21, 17, and 9 minutes. It's just hard for me to project him, even with the injuries for the Lakers, to go out and play 30 minutes or anything like that. And given his struggles, it's somebody who I don't feel great about. You could take some shots on him in large field GPPs because we have seen times where he goes off for 35, 40 fantasy points. But one of the lower priority guys for me there. What happened, Eric?
Chat. Yeah, Jordan broke me. That's what it was. I'm so pissed off at this guy. I don't have time for anything else. Maybe it's also Paul George, his return into the atmosphere. As soon as he shows up, I get all hot and bothered and problems start occurring in my life. You know, it's not a problem for you guys. If you text MVP to 1-660-656-4417, Jordan Klein is going to put that in chat because God forbid you guys have to remember that. 660-656-4417. You'll be entered to win a year of Awesemo Plus Platinum just by signing up for our Awesemo MVP text program. For more information, simply click the link in the video description below. And that was nice and easy. NBA main slate ownership, NHL top stacks, PGA rankings. Check out all the free stuff. Jordan Klein's been doing a great job, at least working, not in real life, but has been absolutely working a phenomenal show here so far. Pitching a shutout. Well done. Enjoy tomorrow. Let's go to the forward spot here, my friend. Top end, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, 2 spend-ups that exist here, 20 and 13.9%. Hard for me to like them relative to Luka's price, but my God, you're getting an ownership decrease on him. If you kind of find that to be appealing for 3 max, for 20 max, for 150, are you getting to more Giannis or Kevin Durant on this slate?
Let's see. I'll look on Draftkings and I'll look on FanDuel. So for DK, the answer is Durant. The reason mostly being is because, let's see, why am I getting to...
Had something important I was supposed to
today.
It's Nudie Magazine Day. It's Billy Madison.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you were going with that. What made you think of
Don't
that?
listen to me. I don't know, because you were stalling for time.
I was looking at my projections to try to find out which I have more of them. So, what's funny is I have Giannis projected for more fantasy points than Durant, and there's only a $400 price difference between them. But we're so starved for value on this slate that $400, I guess, is enough of a difference for me to get some more Durant than Giannis on DraftKings today. As for FanDuel, though, on FanDuel, I think Giannis is a little bit more appealing.
Yep, I'm getting to more Giannis over on FanDuel. I think that is the right answer. I mean, it's a competitive game compared to Kevin Durant in a projected non-competitive game. I'll just take Giannis for 600 more, where FanDuel salary doesn't matter as much because TK, it is tight over there today. Romel Juba, $1.99. We appreciate you. And then a member for 3 months. Welcome to your 3-month badge. Enjoy those. If you guys want, click the join button over here on Awesemo. Get those badges. They look cool. We like it. Romel, how do you know price of player matches PPD? I don't know what that means. How do you know price of player matches PPD? Oh, there you go. How do you know price of a player matches point per dollar? You can group by value on Fantasy Cruncher. I mean, for me, that's one way to kind of look at point per dollar really, really quickly and kind of seeing where they're at. Get a relative idea. Now, sometimes 6X, 7X stuff, be very, very careful, because a lot of times I don't want anything to do with the Ish Smiths of the world. I think I have a little bit more to do with them today because of today's slate. But you always want to be careful of not just playing the quote unquote best values, because not all the time are there going to be guys who have tournament winning upside.
I'm still not exactly sure what this question means. How do you...
I just rolled with it. I tried. But we love Romel, and they gave us $1.99 and 3-month badge. I tried my best.
Jordan, can you try to come on camera and explain the question to me?
No. I have absolutely no clue either. I just knew that PPD meant it wasn't postponed. It was just points per dollar. That's all I knew.
How do you know price of player matches? Yeah, I just don't know what the question's asking.
All I know is it gave me a little bit of a baseball, it kind of like shocks the system.
Seeing
PPD
coming
next to things, especially with April showers bring May flowers, and May flowers bring pilgrims. That's what I learned in elementary school. Nelson Resto, $2. What, Jordan Klein? You remember that saying. Everybody said that.
That's what, I imagine that's what Eric says during the spring. Every day he goes outside and sees it's raining.
Yeah. Nelson Resto, $2. Last spot, shooting guard, Yahoo, Pope or Monk? That is going to be Monk for me.
That is Monk for me as well.
Ligarian Bridgewater, $5. Draftkings, say I had it, not Draftkings, but Draftkings, that site, cash lineup help. So $5 to help him with your cash lineup. First guy in for your spend up is Luka Doncic. I know that much. Greg, fill in the rest.
Yeah, so I guess let's say the guys who should be the top core options. And once again, for cash games, unless you have, a crazy disagreement on some sort of ownership projection on somebody, you generally want to be playing a lot of the most popular plays in cash games because there's a reason why they are going to be some of the most popular plays. Luka Doncic, Marvin Bagley immediately stand out, not only as being chalk plays, but guys that are really high priorities. Assuming he starts, I think Dwight Howard is another one to prioritize. So those are three guys that I think you probably want to be building your cash lineups around. And I think those are the best points per dollar plays on the slate as of now.
That's a great helper. Great helper. Jeff Williams, $4.99. Bullock, Monk, and Avdia, or Bullock, Sato, and Tobias Harris for a DK single bullet in the $600. Jeff Williams wants us to put together this 3v3 for him. Bullock, Monk, Avdia, Bullock, Sato, Tobias Harris. What say you, Greg?
Well, I don't like Tobias Harris on DK. When I liked him before on Yahoo is because he was $19, which is totally different than his DK salary of $6,500. We're looking at different stuff there.
I have no desire
Bullock's in both
whatsoever
of these,
to play. I just noticed that Monk and Avdia versus Sato and Harris. I would definitely go the Monk Avdia side.
Same.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear cut here. We got two more. Cheyenne DeWald, $5. What's up, Cheyenne? Will Coffee fall into more minutes with all the limit restrictions? Is Zubats on a time limit or viable FanDuel? So two parts to that, Greg. First part, Coffee. Will he fall into more minutes with Paul George now returning? I would say no.
Yeah, I would say no as well. So we have seen the Los Angeles Clippers, the way they've been operating as of late is these games are meaningless to them. No matter what happens, they're pretty much locked in their play. Now, with that said, I thought the Lakers were locked into their playoff spot too. Apparently not the case now that the Spurs are betting favorites to be in the play-in game over the Lakers. That aside, though, the Clippers are very secure in where they're looking in terms of the play-in tournament. So with Amir Coffey, the reason he's been playing extended minutes is because they've just been trying to be cautious heading into the postseason scenario. They've been limiting the minutes of Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, and some other starters at times, Nick Batum being another one. But Paul George is expected to play today. We haven't officially got him rolled in, but he's on track to play, which generally means he's going to play. I assume he's going to have some kind of minutes restriction, but it's going to have to take away from Amir Coffey, so I'd be looking elsewhere.
Okay. I just can't do Amir Coffey. This much I know. Appreciate you, Cheyenne, always hanging out with us. Romel, $4.99.
We didn't. Sorry, I keep doing. We didn't answer the Zubats part.
Okay, the Zubats part. Thank you. I'm just trying to keep it flowing.
Yeah, no. So as for Zubats, the team hasn't officially said that he's on a minutes restriction, but it certainly looks like he's on a minutes restriction based on the amount of minutes he's playing. So we've seen Zubats play in the last 4 games. 17 minutes, 21 minutes, 17 minutes, 24 minutes. Now in the games before that, he played 36, 30, 36. While the team didn't outright come and say we're limiting Zubats minutes, I kind of have to think the way that these games have gone recently, they're not looking to play him massive minutes. So I would tread cautiously with him. Not somebody I think is a priority.
Yeah. Breaking Bad. I would tread lightly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Eisenberg.
You got that one.
Yeah. Oh, I know Eisenberg.
I love you. $4.99, Romel. So $1.99, 3-month badge, and now coming back with $4.99, referring to your comment on Kyrie not being worth it, relating to point per dollar. There we go. He's worth it for tournaments, that's for sure. And then point per dollar. That's exactly right. So anything else to add there? Because that's perfectly explained now.
Yeah. So I I think Kyrie is a good tournament option today. So in terms of the points per dollar, it's all relative to slate. Like there's not one number I look at and is like, oh, this is what I'm looking at, points divided by salary or anything like that, especially because it's wildly different a lot of times, depending on how much value is on this slate, whether it's a 2-game slate, 6-game slate, 12-game slate, depending on how many options there are. But here's where I stand with Kyrie for this slate. If you are just building a cash lineup and you're comparing Kyrie to the other high-end options on the slate, there are a bunch of guys to pay up for, and I think the majority of them project for more raw fantasy points than Kyrie Irving. But where this is different in tournaments is we have Kyrie projected to basically be unowned on DraftKings today. His most recent ownership projection is 6% on DK. So to me, I'm saying, well, I think Kyrie probably ends up being optimal like 12% of the time or something like that. I think it's higher than the 6% number. So I think he's worth being overweight to the field on, even if projection wise, he's not the best points per dollar play on the slate. If that follows, Kyrie's an ownership play, not a projection play.
That is perfectly explained. There you go. 3K people. I love seeing 3K people hanging out. 5-game slate Tuesday. We might get news on Utah. We might not, but we're definitely going to get a Lakers starting lineup between now and the start of that 7:30 p.m. Eastern time game. That is going to matter what I do with my lineups a lot on FanDuel, plus what I'm going to do over on Jock Market. That's why you guys should stick around for that half hour. We appreciate you. Smash that like button. I have a family, and I have to go and show my face out to my disappointed wife, my sad mopey dog, because he knows I'm a disappointment. But only because we have under 700 likes, and that's not good enough. So,
you think that's the only reason?
All right, let's talk forward values. And
yeah, there's the SpongeBob meme where he unrolls the list and it just keeps going and going and going. That's if you were to ever ask your wife, hey, what's wrong in our relationship? Why did you have to interrupt my show to print out divorce papers last week? She would roll out that list of reasons.
Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. How do you feel about Marvin Bagley on the slate? He's pretty important.
Also, you guys should be slapping that like button right now, like you just made a joke about your wife. Marvin Bagley today, good piece of chalk. I think that when we look at Marvin Bagley today, there's a lot of guys that are out for the Pistons, particularly in the front court right now. And he's going to have to play big minutes as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble. And with Marvin Bagley also, I think he is the overall best points per dollar play on the slate. And he's not getting a ton of ownership relative to the other options that I think are also, decent points per dollar plays. So on DraftKings, for instance, we have Marvin Bagley at 5,600 projected for 26% ownership. The other guys that are cheap and picking up ownership, like Malik Monk, Reggie Bullock, Dwight Howard, Stanley Johnson, I think that Bagley's a much better play than those guys, and they all have comparable ownership. So I like getting overweight to the field on Bagley.
As do I. I think he's one of the guys that I'm just like 6,300, no Jeremy Grant, pat the minutes, plays the pick and roll with Cade Cunningham constantly. I want to be over on both of them, especially because I just see this game, it has a 13-point spread, but I mean, we've seen how many games that Detroit's been competitive enough to keep it within the spread over the course of the last month. I think it's pretty great. Also pretty great, Arcathelza. We appreciate you hanging out. $1.99. How big are you guys on Drummond today? DK, let me know.
Let's see. So, what's hard with the Andre Drummond thing? What's the deal with LaMarcus Aldridge? He was ruled active.
What's the deal with LaMarcus Aldridge?
So
I've got you twice now. That's great.
But see, why was he active for last game and played 0 minutes? But what is your expectation for playing time for him? Because last game, Drummond just goes totally nuts. But I thought it was reasonable to lower projection on last game because, okay, LaMarcus Aldridge is coming back now. Drummond's going to play center minutes. Aldridge is going to play center minutes. Claxton's going to play center minutes. I think that is going to be the case going forward. But it kind of scares me that Aldridge played 0 minutes last game. So I don't like Drummond for this slate because I think that Aldridge should play minutes at some point. I think it's also relative to ownership. So I don't think that he's an outright fade. But I think that we should be underweight to Drummond when he's picking up 20% ownership on DraftKings. FanDuel, he's not as popular, but he's also 6,600. We can only play one center. So I think you should be like half the field on Drummond.
I have 10% on FanDuel, and I'm going to keep it. He's 5% there. He's a guy that if he gets the run and it mirrors what we just saw, he just put up 55 against Charlotte. He does that from time to time. He had 6 stocks to really buoy it. One of my favorite props on Odd Shopper today, both the half blocks and half steals props going over. There's some 1.5, so you can get to combine the two. Those are both overs at Odd Shopper. Head over there, 30 seconds or less. You're able to get the best bets that you want anytime, be able to fire those up. And it looks like Drummond seems like we're projecting him to have enough court time, I think, to be viable on both DK and FanDuel. I'm probably with you where I think DK, just because there's a little bit of ownership there, probably about appropriate there. But on FanDuel at 5%, I'm willing, just because of the uncertainty we have of Gobert and some of the other guys, why not embrace a guy at 5% that if he can go nuts, you've at least eradicated the need to have Gobert in that lineup?
I think that Gobert is going to end up being crazy underowned, though. I just think people are not going to be pressing that button. Like, I know that
it's so hard
because I understand right now we have Gobert projected for 10% ownership on FanDuel. He's projected for 15% ownership on DraftKings. First of all, his salary, 73 and 7,700. If we knew he was playing, he would look like one of the best value plays on the slate. And I think most people would generally agree with that, but still nobody's going to play him because of that questionable tag, which is also, by the way, kind of reasonable if you're building lineups. Just like, I don't want to deal with this situation. But I think he's one of the better tournament plays on the slate, just on the chance he plays at this salary, because I think his ownership is going to come in much lower than the projections.
As I said, I have a set number of lineups that I'm willing to burn. That is $20. I mean, I'm playing 50 lineups on FanDuel. I'm just playing 10 lineups with Rudy Gobert, or sorry, $40. Good job. Way to go, Eric. Math. Is that right? Yeah, that's 10%. So 5 lineups, $20. Rudy Gobert. I'm just like, whatever. If he's there and if he's not, sounds great. I've at least added other players to those lineups in order to have a little swappability. If I weren't on a show, I would be maneuvering around on a number of different sites, but this is just the hardest situation on a 5-game slate for me to figure out. FanDuel's the easiest place to make the swaps. That's why I'm there. Aiden Queskin, $4.99. Thanks for always having big energy and great vibes, Eric. Greg, you're cool too. I do think you're pretty cool, Greg, but Aiden, very kind words. Thank you so much. I try my best. I agreed with some of what he said. Yeah, half of it. My filler arc, $9.99. Tell your dog I said hi. I did. Also, does Man play all the minutes for Jackson, Paul, and Coffee, or would it be Covington? What do you just think about this Clippers rotation in general with Paul George being inserted into the middle of it?
It's a disaster. Because not just because you're in, it's the opposite of what we look for in like the total opposite of what we look for in value. We're looking for players getting ruled out. We're not looking for a player like Paul George getting inserted into the lineup. And then we also have these minutes restrictions to deal with where it's hard to know on a night-to-night basis how many minutes is Zubats playing, how many minutes is Batum playing, Morris, Reggie Jackson, just different guys on a day-to-day basis. We don't know what their playing time is. I want almost nothing to do with this Clippers team.
Oliver Klossoff, $1.99. Who is the best 1-for-1 pivot off Gobert if he's out? You're not going to have a choice but to go to somebody who's power forward or center eligible. I mean, it's Zubats is the guy you land on FanDuel. Who do you land on DraftKings, Greg?
Let's see. So 77. I mean, there's nothing if we're not going to find out before 7:30 if he's playing or not. Mm-hmm. Let me see who I have projected the highest with center eligibility. Well, ideally you have him in your utility spot.
Yes.
And if you have him
obviously on FanDuel, there's no utility spot. Again, there's just, you're going to be.
Was he asking for FanDuel?
He was asking for just in general, who's the best 1-for-1 pivot? I gave the FanDuel one because that's where I'm playing today.
Yeah. So, I mean, by default, it's Reggie Jackson on DraftKings. I think if you're assuming you're able to have Rudy Gobert in the utility spot, which is what I think you should be doing. Anywhere you have Rudy Gobert, it should be in the utility spot. And then I would just turn him into Reggie Jackson if Gobert doesn't play.
We got Tyler Harper, $2. Appreciate you so much. No question. Just $2 for existing in the world. Oh, here we go. I don't know if I'm alone, but I want to know how much money you guys have on the line tonight. And just big picture, how much you decide how much to wager on a daily basis. Completely depends. Yesterday, I had a lot more volume in play because I wasn't on a show. It just kind of depends slate to slate. Some slates, I don't necessarily always like it, or I think there's a ton of news that I might not always be able to react to the appropriate way. So for me, I told you, I'm playing 50 lineups on FanDuel today. You can just assume that's going to be in the main iteration tournament whenever I'm talking about it. So I'm playing $200 on FanDuel, playing one lineup in like a bunch of single entry stuff on DK, somewhere around $300, but nothing crazy today because it's just really hard on a slate like this with Gobert for me to be on these shows, helping you out to give the information and to play a lot. Greg, how do you kind of look at how much you wager day to day?
Yeah, this is way less for me than mostly, just because we have a weird situation with Rudy Gobert, and it's the end of the NBA season, and it's also going to depend on. And I know this probably isn't an answer directly that he would be asking for, but it also depends on my personal life, what I have going on for a slate like this. Like I have right now, my mom is visiting from Florida. It's my grandma's birthday. It was my sister.
Happy birthday, grandma! Craig's grandma's.
It is Craig's grandma's birthday. Tried calling her before. She didn't answer, left her a voice message, and then also texted her because my mom got her new phone that she can now text on. She doesn't just have a flip phone. She has no clue how to answer her text messages, but it was there. So I thought that maybe she'd be able to figure that out. And she tried to call me back while we were on the show also at the top, but she'll have to wait for me to call her back. But anyway, especially later on the season where we have to be really committed to being at our computers and swapping all the time. It's really hard to play a whole bunch of volume if I have other things going on. So for today, it's a lot lighter for me.
Mm-hmm. And I'll play some jock market too, which kind of leads us into this before we get to center. Then we're not going anywhere. Greg and I, or Craig, as he's better known now, are going to be talking through everything you guys need to know for jock market purposes, plus anything going on. We've got 2 games to react to live. We've got 2 games that are still waiting in the wings. They'll lock half an hour later, so stick around. But jock market, the best place you can possibly go play to react in the moment, every single second, to what is going on live before you, whether it's injury news, somebody being ruled out, whether it's 2 fouls that occur early for somebody in their first rotation. If somebody's getting benched, that's surprising. If there's something that you're seeing in an NBA game live, you're able to make real money on it by buying shares of players at that exact moment. And there's constantly throughout between now and the end of the night, the ability to buy shares of players at a set amount. There's a buy and an ask price. You can sell them at a set amount as well. Use the link in the description of this video or head to Jock Market, use promo code Awesemo, and they've increased this, not just $50 anymore, but it's a $100 bonus on your first deposit. Download the app today, use it for NFL markets, and when those come back up, but MLB is right on the horizon. I can't wait to play Jock Market on MLB. Get prepared, start putting in the research now. We're going to be talking about that, in less than 2 weeks. MLB will be live. So Jock Market, a great place to get exposure to players in the moment as they hit home runs, in the moment as they're gaining strikeouts. It's a really fun gameplay type, high variance stuff, as opposed to NBA, where it's kind of more of a slow burn throughout the night. So check out the NBA Plus, first market guaranteed. Jock Market will refund any losses up to $100. So deposit $100, get a $100 bonus, and refunded loss for $100. Really nothing to lose. Check out Jock Market. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of the Live Before Lock show. Patrick Reed, $2 super chat. Appreciate you. Oh, we've got a Loco. You answer your grandmother, Greg? Yes, you absolutely. He will do that for all of us, Loco.
Yeah, I also have a job to do.
Well,
I try calling her all day. She didn't answer. She has to call when it's least convenient.
Yeah, well, it's all right. It's disrespectful, but whatever. Talk center, Greg, because that's more important. How much Joel Embiid is too much Joel Embiid tonight?
My favorite center play is Rudy Gobert, which I think is...
See, he's my favorite too, but I can't do it. I can't do it in bulk. It makes me nauseous because these are the kind of things that I normally have a game plan for. How many slates have we ever had where there's 2.5 hours and no chance you get this news?
Last night.
Not really.
Yeah, we knew people were going to get ruled out last night.
But I had 6 or 7 roster spots in most lineups.
Yeah, that's true. There was ways to swap around, but even last night, I didn't know if Reggie Evans was playing until the second quarter of yesterday's game. I didn't know.
that was
Reggie
a
Perry,
sweat, dude. Reggie Perry. He doesn't even. Greg, Perry, Reggie. Didn't matter. He didn't play. Thank God.
Yeah, so he didn't play, but it was announced earlier in the day that he had signed a 10-day contract with the team, and we never found out if he was going to be available to play. So no, yeah, it was still an issue yesterday because if he would have played, it would have screwed up all of the Portland value in that game. And I kind of think this is somewhat, it's a different situation, but still it's similar in the sense that we just don't know what it's going to be. But I think Rudy Gobert is more likely to play than sit today. And points per dollar, I think he's one of the best center plays on this slate. I don't think anybody's going to play him. So I love getting to Rudy Gobert today. Dwight Howard's my overall favorite value option at center if we're just looking cheap. But I think those are the two top center options.
What do you think about Dwight Howard? I assume he starts going up against Dwight Powell. He's 3,800 on DraftKings, and if he gets minutes, he can be effective. But I do get worried that once you get Powell off the floor, that there's not really a spot for Howard to be on the floor.
No, I mean, the other thing too is just given what his salary is, it's not like we need huge minutes from Dwight Howard. If Dwight Howard plays
18 minutes, he could be viable.
I mean, if he plays 22 minutes, I think he's fairly likely to be a really strong value option. So just considering that, I like him a lot because I have him projected for 24 minutes right now, and it still makes him a really, really strong value play, and he could easily play more than that.
Nudon Yachin. Oh, I caught that one.
Not really.
Why do I read these? What is wrong with me?
I like how you said I caught that, but you didn't because you read it.
Eric did catch the nut on his chin.
He also, it's funny. Eric's so dumb that he read it wrong.
Any final centers you want to talk about, Greg?
Yeah, let's answer Yachin super chat. What was his YouTube? You have to read it again. He already got you.
Out on my chin.
Are we previewing the slate or what Eric's doing after the show ends right now? Other centers to get to. I mean, if you're paying up, obviously there's no issue with Joel Embiid, but I just think there's so many players to pay up for on this slate, and particularly on FanDuel where we could only roster one center. I'm more apt to get to Rudy Gobert. I'm more apt to go to Dwight Howard for cheap. Vooch is a better looking option on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings because he's only 7,600 there. Other centers, though, Bagley has center eligibility, but we've already talked about him as far as forwards go. Same with Kristaps Porzingis. He's a really strong play. He also has forward eligibility. But I think that kind of wraps up the most important centers. Something on your mind, Eric?
Jock market.
You need
We're
a
at
napkin?
The jock market portion of the program. Come on, Eric. Play Gobert on FanDuel. Green Gang. Yes, I can read that name. That's appropriate. I have 10%. I also just hate everyone. I hate everyone. Except for Jock Market. I appreciate Jock Market. Yachin. How did I not pick it up right away? It's because I'm flying through. I'm trying to get to all the super chats and answer your questions and be appropriate. It's fine. Taking my chances on Gobert. Yes. Yeah, exactly. You can do that. You Sea of Thieves and kicker, all of the things. It's whatever. Jock Market. It is time to talk. Our friends here. That means I turn off the TV behind me. They've seen their sponsorship there enough. It is time for me to log on to the app here. We have free projections to check out here at Awesemo too. Goes a long way. Even Yachin will enjoy being able to check it out because it's very fun to be able to go play on a site that you didn't need to do any research until just now. We are logging on. I'm able to buy shares of players that I think are appropriately priced instantly based on Awesemo's industry-leading projections. I'm a broken man. We just got the Lakers starting lineup. It is unfortunately exactly what I thought it was. Hopefully, Taylor Horton Tucker, but Westbrook, Monk, Reeves, Johnson, Howard. Anything to extract on Jock Market out of that one, Greg?
No, this is we thought Wenyen Gabriel was going to be starting.
Oh yeah, no, that's weird.
Yeah, so Wenyen Gabriel now, because he's somebody who's going to be very popular, particularly on FanDuel, much worse looking option now because we thought he was going to start, and that is not the case. Upgrade from Malik Monk because I think he's going to play a ton of minutes now. Everything looks the same for Dwight Howard, looks the same for Stanley Johnson, both guys to get into your lineups, good value options. As for Jock Market, let's see. Malik Monk is probably already appropriately priced. Yeah, I mean, Malik Monk already has an asking price of $624. Nothing I want to do with that. See, Stanley Johnson, he is an asking price of $408. So those aren't players I want to go to.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Greg and I have been noticing a lot playing over at Jock Market that you get a lot of, not savings, I would say, but what happens is that these top end players are undervalued and these low price players are overvalued drastically just because maybe people have enough volume. They don't feel comfortable. They want to buy 10 shares of a player at $2 rather than one share of a player that's $20. But sometimes it's better to buy the $20 Giannis on certain slates or the Jokic slates that we've had here of late, where it just feels like he's going to be the highest, if not, top 3 highest every single time that he's out in terms of fantasy points that he's going to end up putting out. So I'm just fine getting to a couple of shares here of Westbrook if you wanted to, but it's just such a hard thing to fall into, knowing that negative 0.5 for missed shots, negative 0.5 for turnovers, not a great projection that we necessarily have on him.
And the other thing too is just these players are so priced up on Jock Market right now. I'm scrolling through just looking at the asking price, and the field's already super heavy on all these Lakers guys.
Yeah, looks like that's the case here. My question to you, Greg, going back to DFS for a second, Wenyen Gabriel at 3,500 or Taylor Horton Tucker at 3,500 on FanDuel, pick one.
Yeah, it was Taylor Horton Tucker and Wenyen
Gabriel. Yeah.
Now it's Taylor Horton Tucker with Wenyen Gabriel coming off the bench.
I agree. And I think that's something that I'm kind of going to short up here. I don't like it. I mean, 27 minutes for Wenyen Gabriel. The nice thing, as you said, he's been in foul trouble. I still think he's going to be playing quite a bit, at least like 18 minutes, 20 minutes. He's the flat min over there. So it's a little bit different. Dwight Howard, 4,200. I'm going to get to a little bit more of him over on FanDuel now, I'm pretty sure, in this next run. I already had 12%. I bet I get to a little bit more here. So that'll be kind of a fascinating way to, I thought Embiid was a pretty clear-cut guy to get to if you're not going to be playing Gobert, which I unfortunately have less of than I would want on most slates. Just kind of is the way that it broke down there for me. But think that's kind of the thing to extract is, for me, I like the min-priced Taylor Horton Tucker a lot more than min-priced Wenyen Gabriel. Rest of that starting lineup, is Austin Reeves somebody that you got to at all?
I mean, he's really not a good fantasy producer. So it's hard to, even with all these players out for the Lakers. And the other thing too that we should mention, Dallas, sneaky difficult matchup.
Yes.
They play one of the I'm
slowest pace in the NBA.
Slowest pace in the league. Yep. And they are top 10 in defensive efficiency. They are not all that easy to score fantasy points against, but Austin Reeves is a starter this year. And he's made a bunch of starts now. So 15 starts for Austin Reeves, 26 minutes per game, 17 and a half fantasy points. Maybe we get a few extra minutes out of him, a little bit more usage. It's hard even with that to project him like at the most 20 fantasy points. And it probably should be projected. He should be projected for lower than that, I think.
Carmelo Anthony, I didn't expect him to start. It doesn't change anything. I saw some people bringing that up. Doesn't change anything for him. I'm still over the 32% we have on FanDuel. 4,100 is just so low for a guy who has the path to all the usage. 0.9 fantasy point per minute player on the season on FanDuel. Do you have any change of heart for Carmelo Anthony? I'm guessing no.
No, we never expect him to start, even before when we were guessing what the starting lineup was, because I think that was one of the first questions you asked me maybe like 5 to 10 minutes into the show is, what did I think the Lakers starting lineup would be? And I thought it was going to be Gabriel and Howard in the front court. There was never a point where you and I thought it was going to be Carmelo. He's going to play mid to uppers 20 minutes. He's going to take all of the shots he could handle in the second unit. So there's a lot of upside there. Whatever you thought about Melo before, this shouldn't change it.
Yeah, and Monk, definitely more appropriate for me as a play over on DraftKings. I believe his tag over on FanDuel is just insane. Well, 5,700. It's all right. I just didn't get to very much. Got like 2%. So maybe that's a guy I'll get to a little bit more of. But I think very good play for DraftKings purposes. He's in that one lineup that I made that I just wanted to kind of put together for everybody there, just so I knew what I was talking about on DK. But back to Jock Market, do you see any player that you want to buy shares of at their current prices?
Kevin Durant, asking price of $13.76. So for reference, if you buy shares of somebody at $13.76, you return positive value on them as long as they're one of the top 6 scorers on the slate. And I think one of the more likely scenarios is that Kevin Durant is one of the top 6 scorers on the slate. If you look right now at our fair IPO price, we have Kevin Durant with a fair IPO of $16.10. So that current number that we have there, 1376 ask, that's one of the better values you and I have seen right after the IPO period.
I am going to get 2 shares of him right now as we're talking about it.
Yep. I bought a dozen shares of Kevin Durant because I think that is a good value.
Oh, yesterday was so beautiful. I've got all the money to be able to play over on Jock Market now, just because of just basically as soon as that news came out about Trey Mann, I bought as many shares of Maledon, and Andrew Wiggins ended up working out. Everybody from that game ended up working out. Sorry, Aaron Wiggins, the other one.
Andrew Wiggins did not work out yesterday.
It did not work out for Andrew Wiggins, but Aaron Wiggins definitely confirmed worked out. He was like $2.20 or something for an ask price in a game where there were like 8 guys from OKC who could actually exist. So that ended up being fun. That's the kind of stuff you can do over at Jock Market. That's why it's fun to be playing over there. That's why we're talking through it here for you guys. Once again, promo code Awesemo gets you $100 first match deposit bonus. Any of the games start up here yet? I'm just going to pull it up as we get going here. Craig, my friend Craig.
Yeah. It looks like 76ers Bucks is about to tip off, but no, none of them have actually started. But I'm looking forward to the 76ers Bucks game. That should be a really good game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be watching.
By the way, a betting angle to tie into this also. Ooh. Did you see there was a poll ran with 100 sports writers? I assume a lot of them are award voters also, just asking how they would vote for the MVP race. Jokic won in a landslide when they did that, and that caused a massive massive movement in the betting line. So we saw yesterday Joel Embiid go from like a -220 favorite. Now we're looking at that as a pick'em line. I don't think that's enough, considering that we now have a sample size of 100 writers, and we know that like 70% of them are looking to vote for Jokic. I think that Jokic should be like a -160, -180 MVP favorite. So I think that he's worth betting on still.
Nice. Okay. Well, I will take advantage of that. I mean, I bet him early on when he was, mid plus 150, plus 160 there for a while. After one game of head to head, it ends up moving like $10. It moved to like plus 130 or something, 10 cents there. But you've been on the Jokic bandwagon from the start, and rightfully so. I think he's the best player in the NBA this season. I'm probably with you there. Also, as if there weren't good enough things here, for 1.8K of you hanging out here after lock, free bets posted here at Awesemo. Now is the time to be checking these out, because these, I'm assuming we might be doing one free bet a day. Just came in to me from Joey Corman, the cheater of games. That is Joey Corman, cheater of basketballreference.com. He just said Zach LaVine over 3.5 assists, -130. That is going to be from Alex Baker himself. Alex Baker over 3.5 assists for Zach LaVine, -130 is the free bet of the day. All you have to do is head to Twitter, type in Awesemo Bets. That is going to be the handle. And you get to just immediately sign up and get a free bet sent to your phone every single day. It's going to be right around this time, right after lock, when those bets are going to be showing up. Have your notifications turned on. You'll just get one a day. Check it out. We already have a nice group of followers over there for that. It's in conjunction with all of the premium offerings we now have behind the paywall for Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, all the other guys for the free bet, or not the free, sorry, the paying subscription you have for the Awesemo Bets. It's a great time to be able to hang out in the Discord, be able to sign up and get those. It's winning, 16 units? I think they're up right now. Yeah, plus 16 units. They have curated picks from all the experts, premium bet in the Discord chat that I just referred to. Really amazing offering here now at Awesemo. Sign up for that and get winning, because it's fun to win money, and 16 units is not anything to besmirch here with under 400 plays. For anybody who's aware of how sports betting work, that is a pretty good return already in just, I believe, 2 weeks, week and a half we've had this existed. So Good stuff to see from the Awesemo crew, Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, and Ben Raza, my golf friend over in the PGA streets. So check it out. Cool. Zach LaVine over 3.5 assists. I'm going to be clicking over on Prize Picks and finding that one here as well. But as I do
the game already locked. Let's go to Odd Shopper and try to find some other bets for the people. How about that?
I like that. Let's go to Odd Shopper here. Again, we got 2 games that are live here. We got the Lakers starting lineup that we were able to react to a little bit here. That's Wendy and Gabriel. I still have a tiny bit on FanDuel. He's the min. I'm okay taking some of those shots, but not nearly as many as I was going to. Tobias Harris, maybe I'm getting a little too. Oh, he's locked too. Never mind. Let's go to Odd Shopper. I'm looking at these 3 games we have going. Anything that sticks out to you from Brooklyn, Detroit, Dallas, Lakers? Those are the next 2 on tap.
Yeah. So somebody that is one of the better projected unders that we have right now. And it kind of goes back to something we were talking about before, but there's plus money on Andre Drummond for under 11.5 points. And while I understand the upside in Drummond because he just had a massive game and he's been, a really good points per minute fantasy producer for the Nets, I don't know what is going to happen with his minutes now that LaMarcus Aldridge is supposedly expected to play. So I think it's worth taking the under on Andre Drummond just because the minutes might come down. And it's a plus money bet. If this was, minus 120, I'd feel differently about it. But considering getting plus money on the under for Andre Drummond's points there, I think that's something worth taking a look at. And then you just hope that Aldridge actually plays today.
Robert Page, we have 850 likes. It's called a refresh button. Use it. It's going to be helpful to you in your life going forward. But no, just kidding. Robert Page thinks I think the world's flat or we didn't land on the moon or something like that. I don't know why. But Robert Page, always appreciate you hanging out here. Always hitting me up on Twitter, letting me know that I don't believe in the moon landing, which I do. It's a strange thing to think I don't believe in it. But there you go. Vooch Domination Night, all in caps from Jason Violante. Guy that I thought was an all right play if you wanted to, but with LaVine in, that just became so much less enticing for me.
Yeah, and once again, also that game's already locked.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Smash the like button, everybody. That's what we should do here. Let's go back to Odd Shopper then here. I like the Andre Drummond 11.5, taking the under on points there. I still do like those steals and blocks combined together. If you can find those places. I mean, we project him for 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks. Over on 0.5, both of those are minus 200, minus 180s respectively. But if you can find the 1.5 number, just kind of putting them together. He has been a guy who's notorious for picking up some stocks from time to time. Just a good fantasy asset. Not so much in the real life basketball streets. Just fine going that direction as well. 2 individual bets, probably don't want to put them together. One, you're kind of shorting his playing time and hoping he doesn't play as much. The other one, he could run into in 5 minutes, but far less likely, obviously. Let's see. Going back to chalk market as well. Anything else from the betting streets that sticks out to you, Greg?
I'm looking through, it's so hard to take overs on any of these Clippers players because I don't know what to expect from the minutes workload. I understand from a projection standpoint, while we might have the overs look favorable, but I don't know what it's going to look like with Paul George being back in the mix and also these minutes restrictions looming. So I wouldn't feel super comfortable betting any of the overs on those guys. Here's one that I think makes sense. Now that he's starting, Malik Monk, plus 140 for over 2.5 threes. Let's see, how many threes do I have? Yeah, I have Malik Monk projected for over 3 3-pointers today. So this looks like a line that just hasn't been updated yet for the Lakers' new starting lineup.
I like it. I'm going to take advantage of that one here as well. I see. Is it available? No, not available to me. That's sad times. Tell you what, 17.5 points plus rebounds plus assists for Carmelo Anthony. How do you not like that?
17.5 points plus rebounds plus assists.
Yeah. He doesn't really do the other two that
I have him close to 20.
Yeah, I have him at 21 for the combination of each. That's something that's available to me. And if you're in a state that doesn't have legalized gambling, then that is probably available to you as well through the facility that I, previously mentioned, but they're not the sponsor of the show. So I want to give Jock Market their due, make sure that I give them the direct attention, more so than this other site. But prop space stuff, definitely going to stand out to me, taking some overs on Carmelo at 17.5 there. Feel pretty good about that one, actually. I'm adding that to the card. It is ready to go, and it is set. So there we go. Greg. I'm so paranoid of saying Craig now. Nick Vooch, 10.2, 9 points and a rebound. Kristaps Porzingis, 2 points, assists, 2 rebounds, and a block. And beat off to a decent start here as well. 2 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Well-rounded there. And Giannis, 7.1. That game just getting going. Both of these, though, they're under 12 points apiece. So getting ready to start sweating them here for jock market purposes. Do you see anything happening early going that we might be able to take advantage of where we're able to get players instantly?
Oh, I forgot about, let me see if this is still available. I forgot about one other bet I like for today. I posted this in our group chat the other day. Isaiah Stewart, what is his 3-point prop right now? All right.
Oh, yeah, good. That was one of the sharper things, period, end of story. So congratulations on being sharper.
So the Pistons the other day, this is something that's going to be really hard to project for. And it's not really necessarily narrative based, but it's not it's logic based. So the Pistons' new starting lineup, where they have Marvin Bagley and Isaiah Stewart in the front court. Dwayne Casey, the coach of the Pistons, came out and said that I'm pretty sure is Casey the coach of the Pistons now?
Yes, Dwayne Casey.
Yeah. So Casey came out and said to the media that now that they need floor spacing because there's no Jeremy Grant for the Pistons and the front court is Isaiah Stewart and Marvin Bagley, he wants to encourage Isaiah Stewart to shoot more threes. So what I did, I should have put this on Twitter too. But I bet Isaiah Stewart for that game plus 700 to make 1 3. He ended up making 2 threes in that game. The market has adjusted for it. He's plus 330 today. I don't think that number's gone down enough, mostly because we saw Isaiah Stewart attempt 3 threes in the Pistons last game. So I think that there's something to what Dwayne Casey told the media, because Isaiah Stewart, who basically never shoots threes, took 3 threes last game. And if you look at his other games that he had recently, here are his rest of the games for the month prior to that quote. 0 3-point attempts, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So all of a sudden that he shoots 3 in that one game, it's clearly an initiative now. We're going to have Isaiah Stewart shoot more threes. Now, is Isaiah Stewart a great 3-point shooter? No, but for his career, he makes 29% of them. If we could assume that we're going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 3-point attempts for Isaiah Stewart, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of a 50-50 bet that he makes a 3-pointer, probably more like 60-40 in favor of him not making one, but it's plus 330. It's not the same as the plus 700 odds from the other game, but it's still not priced appropriately at plus 330.
Well, think about it this way too. Jeremy Grant is out for the season. He has a 35.8% 3-point percentage, has a 35.8% 3-point percentage on the season. Limited sample for him because he was hurt for a while, but still had 254 attempted threes. What do you think Marvin Bagley shoots from 3, Greg?
Low.
23.2% on the season in just 95 attempts. The guy isn't exactly sitting out on the perimeter, so maybe he goes more to the block, and he's in the pick and roll quite a bit with Cade Cunningham. It's something that Ryan's talked about a lot on the Slate Starter podcast, where they have a really good sync in terms of offensively for a 1-2 pick and roll game. But that leaves Isaiah Stewart not necessarily sitting under the basket that would direct more attention. So I think there's something to Isaiah Stewart just being on the perimeter more going forward, because Marvin Bagley is incapable of shooting the 3.
Yeah. The only way for this, actually, I was going to say the only way for this pairing to work. There's no way for this pairing to work. There's zero way for it to work. But at least from a floor spacing perspective, they're going to need Isaiah Stewart to shoot some corner threes. As long as we're getting this significant plus money, I'm just going to keep betting it. Like I said, I hit on a plus 700 the other day. I'm betting plus 330 today. You don't need to hit these every single time. If you just get the over 0.5 threes to hit once or twice a week at these numbers, it's going to be profitable in the long run.
All right, Brian Brooks, $2. Appreciate you hanging out here with us on this after hours show, half hour after lock here. 9 minutes left to go, but interest in Hartenstein, who's somebody that we've brought up quite a bit on this show, Greg. Interest in Hartenstein, or Juan, as in Juancho, with or without Rudy Gobert?
Well, with or without Rudy Gobert is kind of hard to say because it makes a big difference whether Rudy Gobert plays or not. The answer is definitely Hernan Gomez to me if Rudy Gobert is out. If he's in, I lean towards Hartenstein.
I agree. I mean, he's 4,700. Hartenstein, I thought about putting him in that one lineup on DK. I just didn't do it. I just kind of went the Dwight Howard route in conjunction. Played Joel Embiid in that lineup as well. So I kind of want him and Giannis to go nuts. Ended up going Jalen Brunson. I talked about how much I liked him at that $5,900 tag on DK. But once again, I made one lineup. I find it hard to believe that if Rudy Gobert plays or doesn't play, that it's not going to drastically affect this slate. That's why I chose the one site where I thought I could just play a lot of Embiid, that being FanDuel, and probably get away with it here. And then, now Dwight Howard's a guy that I'm going to get to a little bit below him. I'm just hoping that mid-range of Rudy Gobert really isn't the difference maker of this slate. And I really do hope he plays, so it's not some other ancillary option that you'd need to have in like 2 or 3 lineup spots in order to win, because I don't have those roster spots. That is just not something I chose to do today. Let's go back to Jock Market here quick. We're checking in on these games live. 13-11. Milwaukee's up on Philly early. We got Washington 15-14 there in that one. Looking at some of the fantasy outcomes, I mean, Vooch, 9 points and a rebound, still at the same number there. Porzingis off to an awesome start. Just made another jumper. As I said that, he's got 6, 3 and 1 with a steal. Seems like a great start there. Is Porzingis still decently priced on Jock Market?
Probably not, although I also don't think he was decently priced to begin with.
$15.99 ask and no thanks.
Yeah, no, you could get James Harden and Kevin Durant for less than Porzingis right now.
What? That is insanity.
It is also true. And also, that's not like it's not like 12 and it's not like 12.75 fantasy points. It's some sort of insane. So it's solid. It's not like I'd look at that to be like, oh, he's going to outscore Kevin Durant now.
Right. It's a good way of putting it. Tell you,
who is really struggling right now, which actually does help Kevin Durant and does help other guys as well. Joel Embiid, we are more than halfway through the first quarter, and he has 6.75 fantasy points.
Mm-hmm. Not good. Not great.
Well, it helps Kevin Durant because now we have to look at, based on those results, Kevin Durant is more likely to be one of the top, 6 or 7 scorers on the slate, which is what we need for him to return value.
Stop, drop, living rent free. Eric speaks before thinking. No, sometimes what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep the show afloat, trying to keep it moving, just trying to keep it in a groove. And sometimes people will troll me with a name, and then we have to shut down the show for 30 seconds in order to let Greg just laugh and enjoy himself. And
as if you were laughing at yourself.
It's true. I was hilarious, but also I don't think I have anything that's good. Jordan Klein, are you in a good mood today? I'm still upset with you. 6 minutes left to go here in the show. I thought about that one before I said it.
There's also Giannis is Giannis, I can't really say he's struggling because they always have that rotation pattern where he comes out like 4 minutes into the game. What?
I'm not even going to entertain you.
I don't even know. I mean, I see what Jordan said.
I don't know why he wants me to say schmaggins, but I don't want to say it because I know that there's something that he's going to say on camera as soon as I do, because now I've learned that you're a bad person who doesn't have my best interests at heart. Right? See, look at that. That's the face of deception, everybody. That's the face of deception.
Yeah, Jordan is pretty clever, though. He got you pretty good the other day. Why are so many people talking about Eric? The moon landing being fake in the YouTube chat today?
I don't know. So this guy, Robert Page, once in a while, he's just like, Eric doesn't believe in the moon landing. And I'm like, where did this come from? I said one time on a show that I was just like, you know what? Why does laundry still take a long time to do? It's absurd because, we landed on the moon umpteen years ago, but yet laundry still takes 3-4 hours to do. That's a joke. It's a joke.
The best conspiracy theory is that birds don't exist.
That's a terrible conspiracy theory.
Do you not know about that?
I've heard about it where it's like they're all little computer generated things that fly around and watch you and pay attention to everything. There was like a banner. I saw something during COVID where that was like a big thing that people took off with.
Yeah. So people, there's a lot of birds aren't real. It's a whole big conspiracy theory. Here's the thing that trips me up on it. Why are people building fake birds that are shitting on my car? That's where it really comes apart, where people are like, I've got to build these fake birds, but to get people to really be in on it, to know it's real, we're going to make sure that they also shit.
Dave, you're right. You're right. Birds aren't real. Lots of birds aren't real talk coming in here. Guys said birds aren't real, made it up to troll actual conspiracy theorists. That's what I remember seeing, is that there was some kind of a conspiracy theory where he created it. A lot of other people latched onto it on Facebook, and then he like went and ran the like actual event where they met. And he just like trolled all these people about the conspiracy theory. I think there's a documentary about it, but don't quote me on that. I feel like I saw that on Twitter one time.
And the other thing too is think about, so we've got people like Tyler Xander, because he's, crazy, like he hunts birds.
Does.
And I assume he eats them afterwards.
I'm a fud.
That's actually, Tyler. He is the real life Elmer Fudd.
He's a little bit of this, but then he's got a pretty good like Irish accent, but he does the Texas thing where he's a little like this. He's like, Eric, you know what? I'm going to tell you a story today. It is going to be fun. My dog, Bruce, he's being upset today, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And then he'll just like go into another accent randomly, but it's like hard drawl sticks out. That's a little caricature-y of him, but that's what Tyler Xander sounds like if he had producer cam, which he should have producer cam.
Yeah, and if he really is the real life Elmer Fudd, though, I think without too much doubt. And they do have some similar facial structures.
Best conspiracy theory is everyone in power are lizard people. That is by far the worst conspiracy theory.
It's the best one is the birds.
The birds one's pretty great because somebody trolled it, and Greg loves trolls.
Oh, this is a good one from Tom, who of course invented MySpace in our YouTube chat. What's a bigger conspiracy theory, the green check marks or the moon landing? Oh, while we're talking about DFS conspiracy theory, the idea that FanDuel and DraftKings post fake news so people's lineups will score better so they collect more money. FanDuel and DraftKings don't make money based on by how many fantasy points your lineup.
They want as clean of a slate as possible. They want no injuries. They want nothing happening, because when Paul George getting ruled out, random things happening, they have to once in a while, make the players happy. But you know what? You can avoid DraftKings and FanDuel in that regard by playing on our sponsor, Jock Market. What just happened?
Just EMAC.
Okay. Well, Jock Market, deposit using promo code Awesemo, get $100 first match deposit bonus by signing up. Then $100 first market guarantee. If it's your first contest you play in tonight, you have the opportunity to really, really do some damage. You get $100 first match deposit bonus, plus your $100 you deposited, plus $100 back. You have an opportunity to make some serious money on Jock Market with some of the plays Greg and I recommended. Greg, any final words for the people? What the flying F is going on?
Can you just tell us who sings the song Radioactive?
No, I will not. It's Jordan Klein. Thank you so much for all of your great work. You're not a good person, but it's okay. I appreciate you anyway. Greg Ehrenberg, fun as usual. I'm going to go cover my chin up or go clean up or something. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this screen is what I'm going to do. Greg, thank you. I'm Eric. We'll see you guys tomorrow.